Hey, hey. Yeah. Shout to day 43, yo, that's the OG. HEX, crypto big payday, you gon' see. Yo, it's November 19, that's the day they predict. Every time I spit, I bring the craziest shit. Shout to day 43, yo, that's the OG. HEX, crypto big payday, you gon' see. Yo, it's November 19, that's the day they predict. Every time I spit, I bring the craziest shit. Yeah.
Man, thank goodness.
To justify what the hell we're doing here, man.
He's phony, she's fake. That's the type of people I hate.
Yo, y'all know the lyrics. Come on, sing with me. Shimmy, y'all, shimmy, yam, shimmy, yeah. Give me the mic so I can take it away. Off on the natural charge, bon voyage. Yeah, from the home of the dog.
Man, it's unwrecked. Thank goodness.
Fuck. Welcome to the HEX Late Show. It's 43 OG here with you. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What's going on?
Just some technical issues, but in time, got them fixed in time by using a different browser. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
I need to actually sort this shit out.
Actually, hang on, let me see if I can change this. I was gonna do an intro where I was gonna say, good evening, it's 40 plus 3 equals 43. You can't tax me for doing maths. I was going to say that, but I decided not to.
How about 4 plus 3 equals 5 or something like that, like Clown World math?
Dude, like I've been thinking about this shit. The more I think about it, the more I think that the whole world, like all governments have got it twisted.
Yeah.
They've got it totally twisted. Because if you think about it, this is the only shit. Like I can't think of anything else where you're just doing maths and that equals some value at the end, like that you can off ramp with. And then I can't think of anything else where there are these arbitrary points in that mathematical equation where governments might just say, hey, we should tax this arbitrary point in the mathematical, like.
Right. I wish that Richard was right about this, and I wish that this was the case, and I thought this is a compelling case. But Ivan on Tech actually said something that made a lot of sense. He said they can get fancy with, like, technically you didn't just do math, you did work. Like, actually, I guess that's only referring to Bitcoin, isn't it? Where your machine is actually doing work.
But you're also doing work. No, see, the counter.
It's still math, right?
No, but it's just math. No, but the counter to that is when you're like doing spreadsheet stuff, you're also working, but you're not getting taxed along, like because you've just done some spreadsheet.
But when you do shit on spreadsheets, it doesn't create value. And if you get paid for the value you create, then that is income and you get taxed.
No, but
I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
No, you play devil's advocate, but it's like you may be creating value. So when you're doing spreadsheet stuff, you may be creating knowledge for yourself because you're seeing things, because you're putting them into a spreadsheet and doing like graphs and
like
shit.
Non-monetary value. Like non-monetary value.
No, but that's the point. When you say monetary value, we're talking about maths equations here. So the monetary value is really when you decide to off-ramp into dollars. That is monetary. That at that point, I can look.
Yes,
I can accept at that point that governments can say.
Actually,
hey,
you're right. Yeah, I think we're in agreement. I think I was heading to the same conclusion as you, but it just sounded like I was disagreeing with you with that last thing I said. Basically, let's use the worker analogy. You're an engineer. You're working on a spreadsheet. When you hand that spreadsheet over to the client or to your boss, and then you get paid an income, they tax your income because you're getting paid in dollars. But until that point, even the spreadsheet could be valuable, but until you get paid for that value creation of the math you've done, there's no tax involved. And so in this case, all you're doing is math and posting numbers to blockchains or to the internet or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And it's only when you actually take the fruit of that labor and sell it into dollars that it should be counted as taxable. I agree with you. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a compelling argument there. And I think that they've just it's because things have been given real world names. Like
it was called a cryptocurrency.
This is a token.
This is a token.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there is no, there is no actual fucking token, right? It's just, we're giving it a name, a real world name for something that's just some maths, right? And people have posted it to the internet.
Antonopoulos was the first person to highlight this that I'm aware of, and Richard said something similar in that the words that are used to describe these things are very incorrect. That a better name for a wallet would actually be a keychain because it's just a collection of your private keys. It's not a wallet. You're not storing the coins because there are no coins, and if there were, they would be on the blockchain, not in the wallet. And things like that, where it's like in an attempt to make normies less scared of interacting with the technology, they jumped the gun on giving the names to these various aspects, and they worded them in ways that were not accurate and possibly harmful to the understanding and to the potential government implications.
So the reason I opened with this point is because we've been talking about like the word staking, and like I've been saying this for a while. I mean, I think I tweeted about it like a month or two ago, how I thought like staking is an inaccurate. It's what we use because it's widely understood and people it resonates with people in crypto at least. People who aren't in crypto, then you do need to say things like time deposit and things like that, because that will resonate with them, or savings account. But in reality, it's not staking, because the tokens are destroyed, right? So it's just and that's what this thumbnail was about. Like, because I saw someone on Twitter say that no, we're not staking, we're smurfing. That's what we're doing with our HEX. I love it.
I like that. I actually do like that.
I like it because it is such fuck you guys, like categorize, like you're gonna have to write smurfing into like legislate smurfing.
Yeah, oh yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Can you imagine that?
Bro.
That's a moral victory. Like that's some
a sick
sort of
tactic.
moral victory.
That's a sick tactic to start getting them to use words. Oh, wait, we could use swear words. We could use nasty ass swear words. So when they have to legislate against it, they have to have all these like nasty ass swear words, like the nastiest shit.
Dude, like when you're staking, it's called shitting in a cup. That's what it's like. That's what it's called. Shit in a cup. So they have to legislate like Yeah.
It's like the when it's staked, it's like it's a Cleveland steamer or some shit, and it has to like you have to shit on the fucking just like really nasty, and then and then they have to sit there straight faced in like Congress and shit, being like, we need to stop these guys.
Can you imagine in the court of law? And sir, and then what did you do at 9:15? At 9:15, sir, did you shit in a cup?
Dude, I reckon at least maybe not HEX, because HEX to me is like important, but maybe a crypto where it's not of such great significance to the movement, that someone could actually try that as like a deliberate strategy to fucking to future proof just for the lols, so that if it ever ends up in a court, that you literally, can you imagine, just you would be laughing so hysterically that you probably get done for contempt of court, because it would be impossible to not laugh. and put it in the actual contracts, like, so that they can't avoid it. Like it has to be the formal wording. Hey, I was going to bring up that early in HEX, there already was an example of people talking about what words we should and shouldn't use. There was this idea that we shouldn't talk about interest, that we should talk about yield. And I think it was to do with, in some countries, interest is illegal to their religion, like as in it goes against their religious beliefs. You're not allowed to have interest. It's like I think some Muslim religions or something. Yeah. So there was already that push to say, hey guys, talk about yield, don't talk about interest, because it's the same shit to us, but like as in it could sort of create this divide where some nationalities or some cultures are not able to get involved. And obviously that's harmful to them, and it's also harmful to us because it slows adoption, but it also prevents them from getting in the world's greatest appreciating asset. So
Brizol, sorry to jump in there. Brizol,
that's it.
The definition of staking is to risk an amount of money. So I guess technically it's not staking, because HEX, burning your HEX is not staking, because when you burn that amount of HEX, you're not risking it.
You're guaranteed to get it back.
You're guaranteed to get it back, as long as
that's
you
a really good point.
rules.
That's a good point. And that's possibly why in ETH it is staking, because you can get slashed, right? There is a risk. There is a risk to your asset. You are actually taking a risk with your asset. I mean, theoretically, in HEX, someone could still argue that there are risks, like underlying.
There's
always risks, right? Like there's all sorts of risks, but
shit.
But
sorry, dude, my headphone fell out of my ear.
All good. I was just going to say that
I've got the most, for some reason, I think it's got something to do with like grappling for many years, and like when you grapple with people and you do jiu-jitsu and stuff, your ears get all fucked up, and like things like this just fall out of my fucking ears all the time, man. I don't know why. It's fucking annoying.
You know, I've bought earplugs before where like now I get earplugs that are injection molded to my exact shape of my ear. But you used to be able to, like the ones I would get before, they'd have actually different sizes of the rubber thing, so that depending on, because everyone's ear holes are like different sizes. And so you would actually then choose the size that you would use to fit your ear best.
Dude, that's awesome. You would think with some of these like expensive earplugs, like they cost like, $200 or $300, and they've got like noise cancelling and all this. You would think that they would have some service where they would do that.
Yep.
So you could have like something that actually fits in your ear properly.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'd think at that price. The ones that I get that are like they're molded to your ear, and then you can change the attenuator. So it means you can actually change the decibels of what is allowed to go through. And they only cost like about $200. So, but obviously they don't have Bluetooth. They don't have a speaker in them. It's literally just for protecting your hearing. But you know what I mean? Like as in, so it's not that much more expensive. It shouldn't be that much more expensive for them to do like custom fitting. and then people would get better audio, because if, like, especially like you're saying with noise cancelling, if you can seal the ear, then you're going to do a better job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tweeted at Richard saying I don't think mining is a good fit for us, because so do you have an update on what they've landed on? At one point it sounded on Twitter like they picked mining. Everyone was like, yeah, it's mining. And I was like, fuck. Because to me, mining, it implies that there's work. And in HEX, there's no work. It's effortless. Like you're not doing work. And there's a risk that if they crack down on mining, then we get lumped. Yeah. Then we have to change the name again.
That was my natural. That's where, like, I thought that was where my mind went as well. Exactly where yours did. It's like, if they crack down, like, why? Let's not use a something that's already been used and could be used out of context for us, because it's
because that word will almost certainly get attacked. Like, we've seen it happen. China did a mining ban. So
yeah.
It's like, we've actually already got examples where that does happen. I think we should avoid words that have like known meanings within crypto. I like these crazy words. I think they're good. I basically, what I end up saying to Richard, I don't know if he even saw my post, but
it's what people have been saying: publishing, printing,
coding, decoding,
calculating.
Yep. I basically said to Richard, I think you need to go to one of two extremes. You either use such accurate technical language that it is truly what you are doing at a technical, like at a deep mathematical, cryptographic and technical level, so that they can't outlaw it, because it's like, to outlaw that, you would be outlawing math basically. And you'd be like, okay, well, when you go to outlaw math, that is tyranny.
I like replicating.
Or you go all the way down the other end of the spectrum and go full nonsense, like completely nonsense, like made up words that don't fucking even mean anything, like new words, just make them up.
Or you just do all of the above, just fucking everything, like everything, just everyone's just using their own words, but we know, because we sort of know what they're talking about because it's in context.
I might actually have a video for this. There's this video, it's this old video where this guy's talking about technology in a way that makes it sound like, if you listen at a surface level, it sounds like he knows what he's talking about and he's using all these technical terms. But if you know anything about the underlying technologies, you know that what he's saying doesn't make any sense at all. So he is using heaps of real words to do with like cars and airplanes and rocket ships and shit, but he's stringing them together in a way that makes absolutely no sense.
I feel like I want to hear this just to know whether I would be fooled or not. While you're looking that up, I'm just going to just shield this website that somebody has. Let me share this. There we go. Okay, this is called HEX Logos, and someone has just gone and created all these wallpapers with HEX logos, and they're pretty cool.
Found it. Sorry, dude.
No, that's good.
First try. Found it. I'm going to send you the link. Sorry to interrupt you.
I know you're good. So it's called hexlogos.webador.de. So that's hexlogos.web. Hang on, let me just put it in the chat. Hey, me just fucking spelling it out, some fucking internet noob. There you go. Okay. So I need to copy this. I need to play this.
World headquarters.
Can you hear this?
Here at Rockwell Automation's world headquarters.
Can you hear that?
I can hear it. Go. This is fucking brilliant.
Here at Rockwell Automation's world headquarters, research has been proceeding to develop a line of automation products that establishes new standards for quality, technological leadership, and operating excellence. With customer success as our primary focus, work has been proceeding on the crudely conceived idea of an instrument that would not only provide inverse reactive current for use in unilateral phase detractors, but would also be capable of automatically synchronizing cardinal gram meters. Such an instrument comprised of Dodge gears and bearings, Reliant electric motors, Allen Bradley controls, and all monitored by Rockwell software is Rockwell Automation's retroencabulator. Now basically, the only new principle involved is that instead of power being generated by the relative motion of conductors and fluxes, it's produced by the modial interaction of magneto-reluctance and capacitive diractance. The original machine had a base plate of prefamulated amulite surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing in such a way that the two spurving bearings were in a direct line with a panometric fan. The lineup consisted simply of 6 hydrocoptic Marsal vanes, so fitted to the ambifacient lunar wane shaft that side fumbling was effectively prevented. The main winding was of the normal Lotus O deltoid type placed in panendermic semi-boloid slots of the stator. Every 7th conductor being connected by a non-reversible Tremi pipe to the differential girdle spring on the up end of the gram meters. Moreover, whenever fluorescent score motion is required, it may also be employed in conjunction with a drawn reciprocation dingle arm to reduce sinusoidal depleneration. The retroencabulator has now reached a high level of development, and it's being successfully used in the operation of Milford trunnions. It's available soon wherever Rockwell Automation products are sold.
There was like a few in there which like give it away. Where there's one like it was like Dingleberry or some shit where it's just like the one that made me pissed on that was logarithmic case. The logarithmic case.
Dude, I think for the average person
could think it's legit. And like could think it's
legit.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I didn't know. I've got to say, I didn't know what maybe 95% of that shit was. But it sounded like a nonsense spiel though.
Yeah, I think there are times where you'd get a hint, but like lots of the words, because if you don't know what they are, like you know what I mean? Like as in you're like, could this be real? Like I think probably the people that would, because I've done a physics degree, you expect to know like most of the words that are involved in things to do with like movement and engines and like any kind of like physics shit. So when they're talking that shit and you're like, wait, these sentences don't actually make sense. But you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if a heap of people watch that. And so we could do shit like that. We could do shit like that where it just sounds like it sounds correct and it's just complete nonsense.
Dude, we should do shit like that.
I mean, it is magic internet money, right? As in what we're doing is new shit that hasn't been done before. So why can't we just give it whatever names we want? But I'll tell you what I don't like though. I don't like the fact that, so I think Richard's opened this like Pandora's box of like everyone running off and jumping to conclusions, and people are starting to like commit to specific things without him actually green lighting it and be like, guys, this is what we're going to use. Like fuckers are like going and changing. Like I saw there are even some of the whale bots that tell you when people have like what whale movements are doing with HEX had changed the bot to be like, this person has like emergency end mined or like has ceased mining of this many T-shares with a penalty of like, and I'm like, bro, has he even like, should we wait for him to like commit to something? And if we allow Richard to dictate to the community what the new naming of it is that dangerous in terms of like, didn't we want this shit where it was like, it's HEX starts and then after it's launched, there's no more being able to point at someone being like the leader or doing work or any shit like that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it kind of, I think it's important that it is seen as a community decision, even if ultimately Richard's the one that like picks the one that he likes best.
Yeah.
I think this is all just dangerous territory.
Yeah. I think he's safe for quite a while because the community picked PulseChain, the name PulseChain. So he's safe on that front.
True. Yeah, that's true. He got pressured into doing it what the community wanted. Good
but
point.
it seems to me right now that everyone's just doing their own thing. Everyone's got their own opinion. Like
Yeah, and people are rushing off and starting to use it.
Yeah, but that's probably better.
Like just hoping that it will stick. They're just rushing off in a direction and hoping it'll work. Like hoping that people will. I mean, I'll admit, I added the hexagon and then encouraged other people to do it, and that shit took off like wildfire. Heaps of people added the little hexagon logo in front of their name to show Twitter quickly and easily that they are fans of Hex. And but that's not messing around with like the core shit. You know what I mean? That's a peripheral. That's just like a way of displaying that you're into Hex. It's not messing around and being like, I'm going to change the fucking naming of this thing.
I'm surprised that like someone didn't say like encourage everyone to do that way earlier. Think about it. Like we're over 3 years in, and it's taken 3.5 years for someone to come up with the idea of everyone putting that hexagon shape, and that hexagon shape's been around since day one.
Particularly crazy is, I was just about to say that there have been people who have had that in their bio for a really long time, way before I tried to popularize the idea of adding it. And some of them I didn't even know, like I was just blind to it until I started pushing it and then noticed people who had it in their bio forever. And I guess that's that. What's that type of, there's a type of cognitive bias that's to do with like, you know, if you buy a certain car, you start seeing that car on the road a lot more, but it's just because you have it, you notice it more. I think that whatever that cognitive bias is, that happened to me with these hexagons. Once I started encouraging people to put it in their names, I started noticing that people already had them in their names. So, but you are right. It's nuts that I was the first person to try and actually push it as an idea that we should do it as like a sign of solidarity within the community.
Yeah.
Easily display. Well, especially, I love it in Twitter spaces, man. In Twitter spaces, it's so good when you just see all these names.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. So the last like few weeks, where Hex has been on a pump. Where are we right now? Are we sitting around 7 cents? I think last time I checked, we were around the 7 cent mark.
I think the chart's behind me, but yeah, it's weird. Within the last few hours, there was actually a bit of a dip, but it's already recovered. I would have probably tried to make a short play on that dip, but it was too late. It was already done. So we went down as low as, so we're just below 7 now.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Yes. Okay. So, you know, the chart that I would show, if you want me to pull this up.
Yeah, let's bring it up. Let's see a chart.
Select window or screen of this.
RH just tweeted that he is deleting Insta account.
What? I thought his Insta account was quite good.
I don't have Instagram.
So I had been looking at this. I had been looking at this ascending channel. Admittedly, I'd had it on like non-log, because when you're on short-ish timeframes, on short to medium timeframes, the log button doesn't really make that much difference. It's more when there's like, once you've had big moves. In fact, it's not even to do with the time. It's to do with the scale of the moves that are within the window that you're looking at. So if there's really big moves, then the log button makes more of a difference. So I had this channel that looked a bit like this. In fact, sorry, I'll make these lines thicker for you guys. And sort of had drawn this, but before the chart had even got, so before this candle, so this bounce off the trend line was kind of predicted by this channel that I'd drawn. And then I saw, I think it was, in fact, I forget who it was. I think it might've been Axis Alive, posted a channel, and I commented and said, I've been looking at the same channel. But obviously there's no way you can prove that in retrospect, because I didn't have any like timestamped shit like Twitter or streams or anything. But
dude,
I noticed
like a pretty obvious channel.
I noticed that his would like that mine looks like it's expanding slightly, and his looked like it was parallel. And then I realized that I didn't have log on. And when you turn log on, it all on mine now, it's actually a narrowing channel. And so we've been in this channel basically since the start of this. This is the entire month. So since the start of last month. So over a month now. So over a month, HEX has been, and look, we've had, you probably can't see this wick, but we've had a touch point here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 times we've pinballed off the full range of this channel, which is really cool. And so we'll just see we'll just see if we continue on. It looks like we've had a strong bounce off the bottom of that channel. And, you know, if we were to go to the top of this channel again, it's like 8.5 cents. Just to go to the top of the channel. And bro, if we break out of the channel to the upside, oh, daddy.
Do you know what? So someone was talking about, who was it? It was actually Access Live and Access
Rant, and maybe rant on Randy's show. Was it Randy's?
No,
it was Crypto 7. Was it
Silver the
Crypto
Antidote?
Oh, Silver. Yeah.
They were talking about. They were talking about how there was this whale who had 127 mil, and they were dumping, and they were down to 90. I don't know where they're at now. If that whale has dumped a lot more of their stuff. Oh, by the way,
do you mean recently? Do you mean these red ones here?
Said that phenomenon is called the Beta Meinhof phenomenon, or the frequency illusion. So thanks for that, Brizology.
There's also a word for the bias, like it's like blah 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 bias, like but these are, I assume these are correct as well. I'll just look up the wiki just to get it. But
while you're doing that, let me just show you. I saw this on Twitter. So there was some ETH Denver conference, and they had like toilet paper with SBF's face stamped on it. Can you imagine if you were like, dude, if you were like a well-to-do crypto person who had a not insignificant amount of money in FTX, but you were still okay. You were still like well off.
Yeah.
Fine.
There's so much stuff you could do.
Dude, you might just say, fuck it. I'm going to get like, 10 years worth of 10 years worth of toilet paper.
Oh, yeah. Toilet paper.
Name, SBF's face on it. I'll never get sick of wiping my ass with this guy's face.
Yes.
Can you imagine like just a vindictive type, doesn't want to doesn't want to get him shot, doesn't want to get him killed or anything like that. But
I was actually also talking about toilet paper. Sorry, I misspoke. I just said the wrong word. I also meant toilet paper.
Yeah, you don't have to go to the dark web to get the toilet paper.
That's actually pretty funny, though. They must have found a place that does custom toilet paper and then just ramps it up.
Dude, I had a high school religion teacher, who told us that he didn't care. This was before computers, like you had to have them printed out or anything. So we used to. This is how fucking old I am. We used to like handwrite our shit. And he used to say, he goes, if you do good prose, I don't care what you write it on. And some kid wrote his fucking essay on a roll of toilet paper.
Oh, that's
handed
okay.
it in.
That's okay. Unused. Perfect.
And handed it in. And he got a good mark because it was good shit. Good shit.
And the guy asked for it as well. The guy
he asked for it. He asked for it. Dude, it was so funny when he handed it in. It was the funniest shit ever. Oh, man, we were laughing for like 5 minutes straight. All right. What else? Were you going to show? Do I have to bring that up? Your thing up?
No. Sorry. I was looking at this list of biases, and there definitely is one for like that shit where you buy a car and then you see heaps on the road. I've read it in here before or on one of these lists, but I just can't seem to find. In fact, if I just maybe look for the word often. No. Anyway, I'm sure those ones that Brizology sent are true as well. But you see how, notice how like, oh, actually some of these don't actually have the word bias in them. So some of these biases are not called blah, blah, blah bias. These are the ones that people have typically heard of is like unit bias, survivor bias, you know.
Hey, did you see this? SEC blocks deal where creditors would see a 73% recovery rate. 97% of customers voted in its favor. They are the destroyers of value. In no way do they act as protectors of investors here. Gary Gensler is a crook and needs to step down. Voyager bankruptcy judge says he's absolutely shocked by SEC objection to Binance US deal.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I wonder did you guys, you guys haven't seen that. Hang on, let me just bring it up. There it is.
Someone sarcastically said once, I was listening to some podcast and someone sarcastically said, yeah, because the government obviously cares about you. And I just laughed. Like anyone who knows anything should laugh at that comment. It's clear as day that they give no fucks about any of us. Like there's no fuck. It should not be a surprise at all that they do not actually act in the best interest of the citizens. They fucking haven't for a while, if they ever did. It's crazy.
Yep. I think it's that I feel like it's pretty obvious that they only really care about getting elected. They only really care about having the power.
Retaining power and getting money and power is what they care about.
Because they don't care about the long term. There's very little long term planning that's done. It's all based around the election cycle.
Yeah, setting themselves up, them and their family, to be set up before they lose power. If they live in a country where they believe that at some point they will inevitably lose power, because it's not a dictatorship or there's no potential for it to become a dictatorship. It's basically, how do I enrich my friends and family and myself as much as possible within this short window of time that I have to execute this?
And I'm sure there are some people are worse than others. I'm not going to paint everyone with one brush.
Absolutely. I've actually been positively surprised. I've noticed myself saying, like, starting sentences with, it's unusual for me to compliment the government, or it's unusual for me to compliment a politician, and then, so over the last couple of years, I have seen politicians and government actions that I actually do applaud, but it's obviously rare. It's quite rare.
Yeah,
but you're right. It's not
actually so rare. No, dude, it's actually so rare that I'm legitimately curious to know what the fuck you applauded, because it's so fucking rare. I'm actually really curious, dude. Like, my curiosity.
Texas goes hard, bro. Texas goes hard. Texas went hard on all the nonsense that happened. I'm not going to say the word in case, you know, I don't want, it's not, I know our channel probably won't get banned, but I worry about shadow banning and losing, losing views and stuff.
Android 19, bro.
That nonsense. Yeah. That nonsense period of our lives, over that 2 or so year period, Texas is going pretty hard. Like, the politicians in Texas go pretty hard about that. And they want answers, and they want justice, and they want, they want the truth to come out.
Texas doesn't even want to be a part of the United States. They want to get the fuck out. They're like, fuck you guys. We just want to make our own shit.
Yeah. So maybe that maybe that works for them to highlight the gross missteps of the main government, to strengthen that argument of, what's the word? There's a word for, like, dissociating away from the main shit. There's a special word for it. I forget what it is. But yeah, so maybe this could just be another example where it looks like they're doing the right thing, but ultimately it just serves their interest to go down that path. I don't want to believe that. Like, I want to believe, especially people who, when they speak, you're like, wow, this person actually sounds like they give a fuck about freedom. And actually, Texas has always been very pro-freedom in general, you know? So, when else? There's that politician in Australia that was calling it out the entire time. What's his face? Is it Clive Palmer?
His party. He's still that
Oh,
guy.
sorry, that's right. It wasn't him. It was one of
party.
the guys that's like high up in his party that was doing all those videos
The
that were
main
just
guy.
Like,
he's still doing it, dude. He's still doing it.
he's doing
hammer
great.
and
He's going
tongs.
hard. He's
still
going
hammer
hard,
and
man.
tongs, man.
He's going hard. And the rest of Parliament calls him a conspiracy theorist, but he's out there being like, go and look at that statue out there. That statue is from like fallen war heroes that fought for our freedom, and now you fucking pricks are just gonna like give away all our freedom. Like, it's disgusting. And so I just like the fact that that's going on like parliamentary record.
Nothing gets me more worked up when some fucking cozy politician is patronizing and condescend, like, you know what I mean? They're just like behind a fucking smirk. You just, dude, nothing gets me more fucking. That's why this is exactly why I don't watch the news. I do not watch the news.
Yeah, I don't watch the news.
I would just be upset about that shit all the time. So I don't watch it. And my life is so much better for not watching it. I started sort of watching a little bit of the news when I was in Italy. And then I caught myself and I'm like, dude, you have to stop. Because there it's bad here, but there it's like fucking really bad, man. It's really, the news is just like constantly throwing shit at you, and it's just like, oh man, I can't have peace of mind.
I saw the most I almost tweeted this out, but I saw the most amazing video. It was talking about propaganda, right? And the only reason I didn't tweet it out was because the title of it, it was very misleading. So it wasn't intended to be clickbait. The title was something like, this is how the US military does psyops on you every day, or something like that. But what it was actually about, it was an interview with a guy that used to work for the military who would do psyops. And it was basically all about, like, this guy was just speaking very matter of fact about the fact that it's like the idea of psyops is to convince people, to basically change the hearts and minds of either friends or foes. So it can be people within your own country or people outside of your country. The idea is just to get people to have a more favorable response to the path that your government needs or wants to take. And so it's
Did
really
you remember I read you the KGB playbook the other evening in the green room?
Yeah. So it's in line with that kind of stuff. But they were basically saying, like, there's white, gray, and black psyops. So white is like when they're actually trying to propagate a message that they believe is true. So they're not trying to lie to people and convince them of something that they that is untrue. They're actually trying to propagate the truth to get the truthful message out there, right? That's a white psyop. Then a gray psyop is like, so the black one is when it's like an outright lie, and then the gray one was
when you mix truth with some untruth in it. I would have thought.
I think it might have been like, the shit that you're saying is true, but it's designed to manipulate, or like, I can't remember what the gray one was. I wish I did, because it was actually the most important one, I think. But basically what it boiled down to was everything is a psyop. Like, he's like, if you think about it like this, that basically everything's a psyop. It's like everything is designed to convince people to think a certain way, or to like agree with a certain thing. So by this guy's definition, even what we're doing would class as a psyop, but it would be the white psyop, where it's like, we've got this thing called HEX. We genuinely believe in it. We think it's great. We want to propagate this message of how good it is. And so we're using specific strategies, whether it's like coordinating on Twitter with everyone to like retweet Richard's posts, or hopping on streams and doing this sort of stuff, or sticking stickers on fuel pumps, whatever the fucking method is. It's a white psyop to try and convince people that HEX is amazing because we believe it is amazing, right? That would be a white psyop. Then a black psyop would be, and I believe that Bitcoiners fall into that category as well, that while they might be wrong about HEX, their intentions are pure. They believe that Bitcoin is legit and that other things are scams, and that they're trying to save people from getting scammed and that sort of thing, right? So I'd say Bitcoiners and Hexicans, that would class as white psyops. But then you've got fuckers like Alex Mashinsky, who knew that they were scamming, and they were out there shit-talking the banks and being like, banks are scammers, they've got fractional reserve, talking the talk. So actually, that might class as gray, because it's like, so I think this might be a gray one. So it's like, what they're saying is actually technically accurate, because what they're shit talking on banks and saying banks are shit, governments are shit, and it's like truth. But the purpose of their messaging is invest with us in Celsius and wrecked, and train wreck, and freight train. You are done, wrecked, lost all your money, gone. So, and then black psyop is just like fully malicious, and that, I guess that would be like the absolute scammers, where like they're flat out lying to you. Hey, I'm support. Send me your private keys. I'm going to help you fix this problem you're having, and then your money's gone. So it's like what they're saying is actually not true, and their intention is also malicious, and they're going to just take all your money and shit. So I think that's the range. This podcast was just amazing. It was just really, really good, because this guy had all these examples of like him in Afghanistan, and they were doing all these like psyop things. He gave this, I'll give this one example if you think we've got time. He was saying there was like this unrest that was breaking out, and he was saying these things can go sideways, right? Like when people like in the village, in the town, start like getting like rowdy and shit, and there's not as many, like there's more of them than there are soldiers. And so he went and got like a megaphone backpack and found someone in the village that he believed was like well respected, and said, can you get on this speaker and plead with everyone to like calm down, explain to them why we're here, and like tell them the truth, but in an attempt to get everyone just to lower the temperature a bit. And this guy did it, and it resulted in like no one getting hurt. So the soldiers didn't shoot anyone. The soldiers didn't get overrun and beaten and that sort of thing. So like, and so he believed that was like a white hack psyop.
Yep.
They said they drop out of airplanes. They'll drop pamphlets out of airplanes that like have educational materials that say like, you know, IEDs are bad for everyone. They're just as likely to blow you up as they are to blow us up. And we don't want to, like, if there's IEDs and people are getting blown up, then we have to bring an even more forceful military presence. So it's in your best interest to rat on terrorists so that it's less likely to have like a military occupation in your village. And that's probably gray, because it's like, it's kind of true, but it's kind of manipulative, maybe. I don't know. But I think the thing that I learned from this podcast was it's so fucking subjective. It's so subjective. It's like you claim you're doing a white psyop. I think you're full of shit. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
that's basically politics. Like if you look at both sides of like, you know, for example, Australian politics, you take Labor and you take the Labor Party, the Liberal Party, and it's they both call each other full of shit. Occasionally,
and
people
they're both full of shit. They're both right.
Yeah, they are. Yep, 100%, 100 fucking %.
Blue Goldman Sachs or red Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, exactly. So Crypto Vince tweeted this to us during the week. which was can't wait for the Aussie hexicans to rip this apart on stream.
Let's do it.
And he linked an article. Australia announces CBDC pilot and study for the EAUD. The Reserve Bank of Australia will work with the private sector to explore more than a dozen use cases. Fucking dozen use cases. It's pretty straightforward what the use case is. More control. Fucking more control. More control for them, less control for us.
More control, more steps towards tyranny and dystopia.
Yeah. That's it. But hey, it might bring, like, maybe if it's shit, maybe it makes real crypto look better. Maybe that's what the people need. I don't know. Fuck. Some people are so anti-crypto that maybe they need to get scanned by government issued digital money to realize that real crypto is what is actually needed.
Oi, this might actually be a real opportunity for us if we seize it with good timing, is that people fear change. They fucking hate it. People hate change. And so the most sheeple people are the most sheeple people are the ones who fear the change the most. And so I would go as far as to say that in that period where they're like, oh, why the fuck do I have to fucking do this thing with this new thing? I just want everything to stay how it is. This is nonsense. That might be a real opportunity to push onto people who would normally never listen while they're in whinge mode and say, hey, do you want to know the real problem with that? It's not the shit that you're talking about. That's the least of your concerns. What you should be worried about is this, this, and this. This is the shit that's actually concerning about this thing that you're complaining about. And if you really want to whinge about this in a way that's going to get people to agree with you and stop it from happening or object to it in a significant way, then get your talking points straight. And here they are. And then we would potentially have like these unlikely allies that are the people who would normally like never adopt crypto in that particular change, in the fact that they are the most anti-technology, anti-change people.
It depends. It also depends how the government how they approach it. Are they going to just bring it in quietly and just implement it in the background? Like if they implemented it, but the money in your bank account still is like you're still using the same app, and the money in your bank account is now the CBDC. Like, is it? Do you know what I mean? Could they just bring it in that way?
I think the account will be straight with the Reserve Bank. Like it'll be. You won't have there won't be in a bank account at a retail bank anymore. Everyone will just have. Well, the dystopian vision that someone was saying.
Okay, no, hang on. Before we move on from that, what happens to all the banks? They are the most profitable companies in Australia. Do they just fall by the wayside?
I think retail banking is not actually that massive a component of their business. So they'll probably be like, fuck it. Like, as in, that was annoying anyway. That was like, I think retail banking might actually be one of those things that it gets forced onto them by the government. Basically say, if you're going to have a banking license, you also have to provide bank accounts for individuals. I think they might be, I don't know enough about it to make this comment, but I've just got this sneaking suspicion that they might actually be happy with that and be like, fuck yeah, get rid of this retail nonsense, such a headache, all the customer support, all that nonsense for such a minimal amount of profit.
Where are they making their money then? But where are they making that? What are they making their money on then?
Trading desks. I guess actually, sorry, mortgages. Mortgages are a big component. Trading desks.
Because Australians have big mortgages. Like property.
Maybe mortgages would actually still be with the retail banks. Because think about it, like from a CBDC thing, all they want is they want control over like your spending money and what you're doing with that. I think they could do a CBDC and still leave mortgages in the control of retail banks. This could literally just be like your savings account, like your spending account. So it's where your income must be paid to. And obviously I'm pulling this out of my ass. Like your income would be paid into that CBDC account. Obviously they would force employers. So they would threaten employers and say, you must pay to a CBDC account. You can't pay them any other way. And then where you spend from there, whether it's to pay off your credit card or whether it's to pay off your mortgage or whether it's to go and buy things, then they would be able to have full financial surveillance and full control over the money. So I think that's how they would play it. So mortgages, maybe, like I'm not entirely sure.
So they would have to, if they would also have to outlaw crypto then, wouldn't they?
They're in a difficult position here because if crypto is widely adopted, then outlawing it would be a problem because there would be a lot of objection. But if it's small enough for them to not get a high objection to outlawing it, then it's probably not that big a deal for them to just leave it. So it's like when it gets to a point where they need to outlaw it, it's probably too late.
Hmm.
I think we've passed that point. So many people have got crypto, bro. Holy shit, bro.
Yeah.
Bro,
and you can't, and they collect tax on it. So it's a bit like, it would be a bit cheeky of them to turn around and say, oh, we're going to outlaw it. Meanwhile, you've been collecting tax on it for the last like 14 years.
Bro, do you know the thing that breaks my mind in terms of like crypto adoption? Because you can hear all these stats and I think they fall short on like having that true impact. You know how like sometimes you don't believe it until you go and see it. Yeah. If you go and look at the distribution map of the Helium network, which is like every person that has one of those little hotspots has to have committed. So this is not just a crypto user. This is someone who's willing to invest in hardware. So that's already going to be like a smaller subset of total crypto users. Because you've got people that would just like go on an exchange, make an exchange account, keep all their crypto on exchange. Then you've got like self-sovereignty crypto users. Then you've got people who are hardcore enough to want to buy hardware. Go and look at a map of where these hotspots are. And they can't lie about it.
Bro, or stupid enough to want to buy hardware.
Or stupid enough or nerdy enough or just like, you know, or innovate, like, or whatever. These maps
by the way,
insane,
just for
bro.
for you guys listening, the reason that's a joke between Hex Tangent and I, if you don't already know, we both bought hardware like a fucking year ago to be self-sovereign in our emails, and then the company fucking closed down a year later after like dropping some fucking long paper on hardware.
Yeah. Hardware. Fuck yeah.
They were just good looking Raspberry Pis, those things, or something like that.
You know, so like I watched a video that says you can set up a mail server on a Synology, but it's recommended not to do it because you just get blacklisted immediately. So it's like,
that's remember when you were doing it? I shouldn't say that shit.
It's all good. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. Remember when you were talking about that and I was telling you like, yeah, that's not the ideal.
Yeah. It's okay that for you to talk about that because I've switched up how I do my shit now. But
yeah.
You know, actually, were we just talking about something that you wanted to finish up on?
We were talking about the CBDC, but like, look, I want to know what they come up with. I'm for less control. I like cash. I'm a big fan of cash.
Cash is
actually
awesome.
Let me tell you something. The other day, this is how much of a fan of cash I am. The other day, I went to buy a bread knife at one of those, you know, those cooking, like they've got knives, they've got pots, they've got that's all they fucking sell.
Like a
kitchenware, like just walls fit like to the ceiling of just kitchen shit. I went in there. I was like umming and ahhing. I eventually found the perfect fucking bread knife. I go to the counter. I go to pay. I pull out the money. And she's like, we don't accept cash. And I'm like,
and you're like, that's
why
illegal.
No, I didn't say that. She goes, I don't bother with that argument because.
Yeah. They're not high up enough to like, they just work there. They've just been told, they're like, sorry, I just work here.
Yeah. So, and she just goes, oh, we don't accept cash. I'm like, really? How come? And they said, just ever since COVID, we don't accept cash.
I've heard that exactly same thing. Yep.
And I'm like, oh, what a shame. I really wanted to buy this knife. Like, I had cards in my wallet. I put my money away and I left.
Just to
That's
teach
called
them a lesson.
voting with your money. That's called voting with your money. I will not give my money to a retailer who won't accept cash. Out of fucking principle. The principle of it.
I would have liked to have done the same thing, but I was at a restaurant where we had already eaten the food. So when they were like, we don't take cash,
you're in a position of power there. It's like, it's cash or nothing. It's like, do you want to get paid or not? You want to get paid?
That's actually a really good point. That's actually that's an even better situation to play hardball.
Yeah.
And be like, sorry, bro. But then they're going to be like, can you go to an ATM? Or actually,
no, just say, no, I can't. Actually, I can't, motherfucker.
Actually, that doesn't even help because ATM's more cash. so it would be like, oh yeah, actually, that's a good point. You could be like, I'm traveling at the moment and I don't have cars.
You don't even have to come up with like a rationale. It's
I've only got cash.
Look, I'm sorry. I only have money to pay this
you know
money
you
that you want to be paid.
You could just throw it on the counter. You could just throw it on the counter and just be like, keep the change, you filthy animal, and just walk out. And they can't like call the cops and shit because you're like, you technically paid. Like you did. It's like you overpaid. What are they going to do? Call the cops and be like, this dude overpaid, but with the wrong method. Like
they call the cops. It's like, this motherfucking paid his account. No, you can't lose. That's the only time that you can't do that is when they haven't served you yet. Like when my daughter had been born and I was visiting the hospital to visit my wife and my daughter. In those few days, and they had like a cafe downstairs. I was in line, and when I got to the front, and I went to pay, I hadn't got my coffee yet. And they're like, we only accept card. And then they just withheld the coffee from me. Like they'd already made it. And they're like, no, we only have card. And I'm like, they're
like, I'll tip it out, bitch. I swear I'll tip it out.
And then luckily for me, because I had conviction, like I only had money, right? I would have had to probably drive home and get my car. I only had money in my pocket. It wasn't a planned coffee. It was one of those coffees like, yeah, I'll fucking have a coffee right now. And someone in the line behind me was happy to take my money and pay for my coffee. What a fucking legend. What a legend of a person.
Nice.
Yeah. Super nice.
Have you heard of this thing where people pay it forward by, they go to a cafe and they order a coffee and they're like, I'm going to pay for 2 coffees. And then the next person that comes in here, you give them a free coffee. And it's like,
I'm Sicilian. I've literally never heard of this shit before.
So it was like, look, I want to say it was recent. It's a recent thing, but it's not. It's like it was a phase.
All the Sicilians. Listen, I'm going to be fucking racist right now. All the Sicilians, all the Jews, and all the Chinese are going, I've never heard of any of this shit before. What the fuck are you talking about? Super racist.
But also, you're trusting that business owner to not just be like, yeah, we'll give the next person a free coffee on you, and then just like charging them anyway. Like, I think, I would hope that when they see such a nice gesture being done, they would feel really bad being like, this person's doing such a nice gesture. Also, by the way, if the thing that you are purchasing is that feel good, like, oh yeah, I'm doing something nice for someone, you get that anyway, whether they dog you or not. So it actually doesn't matter. You
are, either way, you are still giving someone something. Like you're just giving the owner of the cafe.
True as well. Yeah, true as well.
They're getting like,
you're just supporting the small business, which by the way, they probably need it at the moment.
And you are also supporting the state because they get a portion of the GST, and you are supporting the federal government as well because you are there will be tax probably paid on that.
IQOS is pumping at the moment, which I'm thankful for because it went
$2 yet?
Dude, no. It got absolutely wrecked, bro. The price got, relative to HEX, it went down to 7.5. So
What do
the
you mean?
ARBs, the ARB ceiling,
yeah.
the ARB ceiling is around 34 HEX. That's where, once ICOSA costs more than about 34 HEX, roughly, that's where you can do the ARB, where you sell it into the contract and then sell the ICOSA back into HEX, make a new 5555 stake, and then set so you can do the ARBs once HEX is above that ARB ceiling. It got down to 7.5. So it's like, to give you an idea of what that is as a ratio, so 34 divided by 7.5. So it was 4.5 times cheaper than what would be required for you to even be able to do a neutral ARB, just to be able to sell it back to the ICOSA contract for what it's worth. Wrecked. So when I say it's pumping, it's gone from like 7.5 to 8.5. Now that's nothing to sneeze at, to use an idiom. That basically, that's still a big pump in percentage terms, but it's got a long ass way to go to get back up to like what it needs to be at for it to be like near that ceiling. But it went hard today. It went hard today.
This is a good point by Brizology, actually. I didn't think of this. You're like virtue signaling to the barista. So if it's like someone you want to impress, perhaps.
Hot girl at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good
Yeah.
point.
Oh, in that case, it's not one coffee. It's like, yo, I'm going to buy the coffees for everyone who's going to come in here for the rest of the day. Here's my,
that is actually a more,
here's my black card. Here's my Amex black card.
That is much more likely than any of the other scenarios. Like, I can't, like, that is the most likely scenario, that you're doing it to impress like the hot barista. Most likely scenario. Yes, true. Very true. Very true.
Yeah, that's not bad. So ICOSA almost a 10% pump today against HEX. Okay. And Hedron actually had a big pump yesterday and today. Oh, damn. Look at you. Look at you, Hedron. Look at you go. These are some big ass green candles. Oh, that's Hedron against ETH.
Yep.
So what do you think that could indicate? If Hedron and ICOSA are pumping like shit, and HEX is like relatively steady, Bitcoin and ETH are pretty steady, like for derivative coins to just be like fisting hard.
Well, they were. I mean, I don't really follow like all these, but I did see that Hedron had fallen below the 502. It was like 5018 or something. I saw that, and I remember thinking, oh yeah, that's like pretty low compared to where it's been recently. So I guess maybe
it's back, when people it's back above now. It's back above now. It's 23 now.
Maybe when people see it below that 5 zeros and a 2, maybe that's just like a triggering like price point for some people. And
these are murderous looking candles, bro. Like if someone came at me carrying one of these candles, I would be concerned. These are very serious looking candles.
Speaking of serious, dude, I want to bring up what Richard Hart's been tweeting about, which is,
bro, he's actually been tweeting quite a lot.
Dude, serious as a heart attack, this stuff is. PulseChain news, devs, news from 13 hours ago, and this is obviously.
Wait, when was this? I don't think I've seen this.
This was
is this recent?
Yeah, this is 9 a.m. this morning.
No, I haven't seen it. Have not seen it.
Okay, Aragon catching up from October 4th, now on mainnet, panicked due to a peer being added to a time-cached blacklist, which means the peer had bad data or was not responding. It was on stage 10 of 15 and moving along nicely. Started up the sync again and appears to be reprocessing all the blocks from October, the 4th of October again. It downloaded the headers and is currently downloading all the bodies stage 5 from that time.
What stage does that take back to? They have to go back, because didn't he say at one point they had like an image or something, like they had everything like saved up to a point?
So they're up to stage 6. was 12 minutes. Here they've got like how much every stage took, and they're up to stage 10. They don't know how long that's going to take. And then he's saying perhaps Aragon handled that panic correctly. It should have been intercepted by the recover function and not terminated the process.
I thought he said at one point that they were freaking like block saving, like what's it called when you like not image, it's like what's the backup called when it's like a
snapshot.
I thought he was saying like they were doing snapshots regularly so that if something went wrong, they'd only have to go back like a little bit. But this sounds like they had to drop back multiple stages.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I'm not sure. This is way beyond my pay grade. But do you know what I really like about this shit? It's like all technical shit that most of us have no idea what it is, but it's exactly like that YouTube video. Like it could be, dude, it's like it could be like that YouTube video where only devs and like people who know their shit will understand the difference between whether this is real or nonsense. But I'm
ChatGPT. You can just paste it into ChatGPT and be like, tell me what this means in simple terms or whatever. But bro, I don't like to criticize Richard because I think he's fucking
elastic
legendary.
block storage.
And I'm happy for him to do whatever he wants. And I think he's legendary, and I think he's earned the right to like, and humans are fallible, right? So I don't like to criticize people, but it seems to me that he's going like really far in the other direction now. I just read this tweet you're talking about, the Instagram, where he's saying to show more humility and respectfulness, I've deactivated my Instagram account. It's like isn't there a middle ground? Like, can't someone have an Instagram account that shows all the exotic shit that they've got without going on streams and being like, fuck you, I'm richer than you, you're everyone in crypto needs to bow down and kiss my ring. Like, there's got to be a middle ground, right? There's surely there's a middle ground from being like, I am a god, like full Kanye West, down to like I'm a servant of my, like doing Jesus Christ. Like what, like is he gonna start washing Hexagon feet and cooking us food and shit? Like what?
Do you believe that? No, but do you believe that his like crazy outrage marketing? You thought it was good, right?
You think part of a larger plan? Do you think,
dude? Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think this pivot into extreme humility is like was part of the plan all along?
I don't know if it was part of the plan all along, but it's very like it seems to be coinciding very nicely with the uptrend. So I'm not saying that they're like there's causation, like correlation and causation there. I'm just saying that maybe the pivot, the people coming in buying are seeing this new, like they're going to be telling people about it, and they're seeing this more humble, grew up in poverty, like kid who has made something of himself.
I'll tell you one potential.
That's an attractive, dude. That's an attractive narrative.
Absolutely.
When someone has come from come from
nothing. Everyone loves an underdog story. Everyone loves the rags to riches story. Everyone loves a rags to riches story. I used to say to one of my girlfriends, we slept on the ground for a while because this expensive ass bed that we had ordered hadn't arrived yet, and we'd moved into a new home. This is going back a bit. And I said to her, we will be able to tell our children, and this, I was joking, that we would tell people in the future, like, oh, we used to sleep on the fucking ground, and look at us now, right? But we were already fine. Like I was already well paid. Like as in, so like, but my point was, the joke I was making to her was like, everyone loves that rags to riches shit. Like I started from the bottom, now we're here. Right.
Yeah.
And so I like this. I do, like, as in, I think this is going to be, sorry, I didn't mean I like this. I mean, I think that this will be well received. However, I'll tell you one problem, and this is not a problem for Richard. It's not even a problem for Hex or for us, but it's just something that I don't like, is the people who claimed that the outrage marketing was what was fucking up the HEX price are going to, now that we're in a bull market, in my opinion, they are going to forever be able to be like, see, we told you that it was the outrage marketing that was making the price go down. Look at the timing. When he stopped doing the outrage marketing, the price started going up. And it's like, okay. Like, because like you identified.
But let them have that. Let them have it, dude.
The timing's actually the other way around. That it might be that he saw the market turn around and then.
Yeah. I think that's the timing.
Because
the
timing
is.
Came in.
No, he only just started this a few days ago, dude. And the HEX has been going up since the start of the year.
Yes, I agree.
So it's definitely the other way around. It's like this hasn't caused the uptrend. I think
because do you remember me saying I'm a hardcore RH maxi until like, well, at the time I was saying I'm a hardcore HEX maxi until HEX doesn't need me anymore. Like while HEX was going down in that bear market, I was like, HEX needs me to be a maxi. Maybe in a bull market, I might be more like not like shilling shit, but like I might be more willing to say allow people to talk about other projects in my space, or you know, be a little bit more accepting to like other communities and shit like that. But while it was like a bloodbath, you need to be a warrior for what you believe in, right? So he might have been doing the same thing, but subtly different in the sense that while the price was going down, he pushed that outrage marketing even harder to get the people who didn't like it to panic dump and EES all their shit and get out.
That's an interesting perspective. I'd never really considered that perspective. I always thought that it was a way to get noticed, and it was such outrageous type, like silly looking clothing and doing, you know, crazy shit, that it would plant a seed in someone's mind and just take notice, like, oh, that fat eccentric type dude, right? And you may not pay any more attention to it apart from that. And then the next time you see it is in the bull market when HEX is pumping, right? That will be the next time you see him. And this time you see him and you see that, like, you might go and check out his Twitter page, and now he's come from poverty and he's this humble dude. It's like, hang on, I need to reassess. So maybe it's a part of a bigger plan. Hey, look, I think the dude knows what he's doing. All right. I really think he knows what he's doing. He doesn't need lectures from fucking anyone on this shit.
HEX did 10,000x.
Yeah,
like, that's a pretty strong, feather in his cap.
It did it without him spending, allegedly him spending any money on marketing.
There was no outward marketing campaigns run.
That's
by
a pretty
him.
Powerful, that's a pretty powerful thing, man.
I'll add a slight like spin on what I was just talking about. Is someone said to me, I think this is fine to say. Someone said to me a comment, and I said, oh, did that person dox their own wallet, or did someone dox their shit, or did they dox their shit? And the person sort of just like laughed at me and said, nah, man, like we know whose wallets are whose wallets, like of the big wallets. Like we know what's up. We know who's who. And I was like, wait, what? So like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But the implication was that with some people in the HEX community have done work to try and assess who is who in the larger wallets. So it's possible that someone alerted Richard to these wallets that were dumping, the DO1 and shit like that. He may have had an estimation or a fair idea or even a solid idea of who that was and wanted a specific person and that person's opinions on what he was doing. And he might have been like, fuck this guy. I'm gonna keep doing exactly what this person doesn't like until he gets the fuck out of my coin. And then I'll stop doing that shit. Maybe, just a theory.
Interesting. I don't know, dude. Could be. Anything's possible.
But look,
anything's possible.
let
What
me-
are the
let me-
chances? Can I ask you a quick? Like,
Yeah.
what are the chances, percentage-wise, that anyone has any idea of your wallet?
I was just about to say I want to moderate that story in the sense that I have had a lot of people inside and outside of HEX, inside and outside of Bitcoin, that have fucking talked a big game to me about various things along my crypto journey, where motherfuckers say things like they are either in the know or that they're running with the big dogs, they're like, and that sort of shit, and then their shit turns out to be bullshit. So this person that was
They're running with okay, how does that even go? Like, is that what they said? I'm running with the big dogs. Dude, that's like,
do you know?
That is do you know if someone said that shit to me, I would be like,
bro,
like that automatically, that's like,
you're
in
gonna
my
love
mind,
this.
it's like my bullshit meter is.
You're gonna
ding,
love
ding,
this.
ding, ding.
You are gonna love this. It's my mates who are very high up in legacy finance that speak like that.
Yeah,
They are the ones, they talk about big swinging dicks and big dogs. They are the ones that people in crypto think that we say all this nonsense shit like aping in and that, and they're like, oh, we need to start behaving more professionally. Otherwise institutions are never going to take us seriously. Dude, I roll with guys that are like high up in banks and shit. And they are just as hilarious with the ways that they refer to things. Like, it's like everyone kind of still has that like childish, you know what I mean? Like you want to joke around with your boys. Like like
everyone's just people. We're all just people, man.
Yeah, the day would be dull. The day would be dull
playing
as
a
fuck
different
if you were-
game with
yeah,
a different set of rules, man.
Exactly.
Like, they're just playing a different set of parameters. But dude, that's pretty funny. Running with the big dogs.
So yeah, so I wanted to moderate that, and like obviously, you would have to like so.
It's like, fuck that. We are the big dogs, man. That's a joke.
So I mean, I guess like
Silent squid.
I can think of several
squid.
ways that you could start to narrow shit down, right? Like if you started to make assumptions, like people who were early to HEX would have large HEX accounts, and you look at people who were like publicly early to HEX and people who are like have large, and then look at large wallet addresses, and then you could do timing attacks, like looking at when that account is active, and line that up with the day hours of that country. You could start to narrow down by like rough approximate time zones, because you know how lots of OG hexagons they started streaming and they also just openly say what country they're in, what city they're in, shit like that.
There's other shit as well, dude. There's other types of timing attacks. Like there's also similarity of what type of transactions they do, what type of coins that they're into.
Oh, bro.
Are they doing similar types of things across different accounts? They can start to link accounts that are not linked, like directly linked.
Other coins that they're talking about on Twitter, and that other coins that they've got large bags, because you know how everyone sort of like talks their big bags. So you could do an analysis like that, see what people are talking about, and match that up to what they also hold. You could also look at you could look at
so people might be asking,
some people
might be asking, how do you do that? Right? You go to Etherscan, you click on HEX token, you can find HEX the token, and you can find all the accounts that hold accounts. So you've got a defined set, like the information is there. You just need to go through it.
Yeah, you go top holders, and then you just start from the top.
Yeah,
and I mean, you can just assume what ones are the OA. They're like the biggest holders, and then you can start to go down. You got Godwell, and then you just go down from there. But basically, another one I was going to say is, say you've got a set of OGs that you think, okay, these guys might hold some of these accounts up the top, and then you're like, well, some of them have gone and got that like tangent.eth like shit, where they've just fucking doxed their shit with an ETH with a like a custom plate ETH address, and you're like, okay, well, that's that guy's account. So then you'd start doing power of deduction on that shit, and then there are some people that actually actively dox their own stuff and said, this is my account. Then maybe some of the guys
like
that
there was a hodl dog actually, like as a part of his, I don't know if he actually docked. I don't know if he actually doxed his account, but I'm sure that because he did a stream every day or something like that very regularly where he would like
show
commit
his
to
shit.
the-
Like,
yeah, and he was putting
like-
money into the adoption amplifier every day, and that was like that was his shtick. You know, that's what he was doing.
oh, and so
he
you could see the address on the stream.
I'm not sure if you could see the address, but in the early days, there was so few.
Yeah.
Like you would just need to go through all of them, and there would be the one with like a transaction every fucking day. Like you would be able to find it if you wanted to. But maybe he did dox the address. I don't know. But in the early days,
especially if the videos are still there and you can see the date and the amount that was put in, like some of this stuff would be rudimentary. And remember that there were many HEX OGs who, even though they were early to HEX, they were not early to crypto, and so their privacy practices were not like stellar. So. Yeah. So I don't want to cause panic. Like I don't want people to be like, oh shit, you know, they're gonna find out my shit and whatever. Like as in, because remember, there's also plausible deniability, right? You can always say, no, that's not my account. It's not my account. And maybe someone went and bought tangent.eth and it wasn't me. Like it could have been someone else bought tangent.eth. Like as in, that doesn't necessarily prove it's my account either. Like, and not that I did that, but I'm just saying there's so much plausible deniability.
Bro. I'm just trying to think of like, I guess it's not outrage marketing, but what if you just like went and bought .eth and just like went and found those domains for like really famous people's names and then just got them all into HEX and say, look, fucking Kanye West is into HEX, Kanye.eth. Although he probably already has that.
Non-crypto famous people that wouldn't have gone and bought their Ethereum address yet.
Actual real world famous people.
And then
buy the ETH things for their names. And then just like
I like it.
Put some stakes in there.
Big dog.eth. Yeah, you could get like Elon.eth and like you could just go and get any .eth of every celebrity name, like Jordan Peterson.eth, and like you could go ham. And then
and I saw a tweet
buy HEX. Fuck yeah.
Did you see the tweet during the week? There was a HEX Toys tweet.
Oh, and by the way, because you actually control those addresses, the HEX you buy, you still control it. So you do, it doesn't even cost you the fucking HEX. Like, you know
exactly.
What I mean? Yeah,
dude, it's totally free.
Dude,
it's like
sick. That's sick.
And then you've
got the cost of buying the domain, which is like
the cost of
I think they're pretty cheap. What'd you say? HEX Toys tweet.
Yeah. HEX Toys tweet that he said that he was something to do with boxing. Does anyone in the chat know what I'm talking about? There was a tweet. Maybe we can even go find it. There was a tweet by HEX Toys about something that was going to like onboard loads and loads of people.
No,
this is perfect, dude. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Gary Ginsler.eth and nothing but 5555. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Bro, yes.
Can you imagine the court of law? It's like, why did you get into HEX? Well, I saw that Gary Ginsler was in HEX and had 5555.
Wait, and then we sue him. We sue him for like promoting a security. Like if he ever calls it a security, we sue him for promoting a security or some shit. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah, he's named in the lawsuit.
That wouldn't work, but we'd have to do it. Like, we have to make this shit happen. Nothing but 5555.
Oh, yeah. Being in Silver, the Antidote, Access Alive, and Crypto Sloths Pay group, Silver has all the people's addresses labeled danger account, dumper account, and trade tart accounts. So he's categorized.
So not names of people. It's their behavior.
Yeah,
it's labeled by the behavior of the account, not the. I thought Silver went and named who he thinks all the different people are, and I was about to get scared.
Yeah, that's I don't know how like ethical that is.
By the way, just to be clear, if I've ever interacted with anyone, so that was like giving out free HEX on my early streams on DLive, anything I've either bought for or received payment from, any kind of shit that people have offered to send me in terms of NFTs or any shit like that, I do not use my real addresses. I use fucking they're not burner addresses. They're still behind a hardware wallet, but they're addresses that I don't allow people to know my main accounts in any way, shape, or form. Like even people who I trust, like, so
You need to, yeah.
So
keep those cards close to your chest.
Yeah. It wouldn't be wise to do that, because, and like we saw, like just what happened with the HEX community. There were like people who we thought were like awesome who turned out to be total fucksticks. So
who are you talking about?
Oh, just everyone.
Can you type in so I know what you're talking about?
No. Like not any one person, man. Like heaps of people.
Oh, yeah.
Heaps of people. And I don't just mean from my perspective. I just mean I saw arguments between people that I didn't particularly have beef with either of them, but I'm like, those two people used to like each other, now they hate each other. So I'm just giving an example of like, you might be interacting with someone that you're like, they're a hexagon and they seem cool and I trust them. I will tell them like I'll just send from my regular account. And then 6 months later, you're in a beef with them and they know, and they've got like a doxability over you. So I know this warning's coming late since we're 3 years in, but better late than never.
Oh, dude, it's can you imagine if people started? I guess what you said is right. You can always just deny it.
It's plausibly deniable. Like you can literally just be like, no, that ain't me.
Exactly.
That ain't me. Is that the R. Kelly defense? Is it R. Kelly? Like, that ain't me.
No, that wasn't me.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Who was that? There's a song. Wasn't me.
Is it Craig David? Is it Craig David? Someone's got you.
Craig David. It's probably Craig. Yeah.
I'm going to search it.
Sounds right. No. It wasn't Craig David.
So caught me in the shower. It wasn't me. Shaggy.
Yes.
Caught me kissing on the sofa. Wasn't me. Oi. Deny till you die. Deny till you die is a
legitimate every fucking dude digs that song. Like,
wait, by the way, I saw this hilarious meme. It's like this really hot chick hugging a bear. And it says on the thing, it says,
yeah, I saw that.
While it looks cute and cuddly, this vicious animal could tear a man to shreds in like a matter of seconds or whatever. Like, and then it's like here's one hugging a bear. It was like this beautiful animal or something. This beautiful animal can instantaneously turn vicious and tear a man to shreds or some shit like that. Here's one hugging a bear.
Can you find? Do you have it?
Bro, I saw it on Twitter. I was like, fuck, bro, this is the most hilarious shit.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Yeah. Oh, I found it. Holy shit, that was quick. Oh, it was Elon Musk that posted it. Holy.
Oh, really?
Bro. He has been on fire. He has been absolutely fire with his tweets. He follows and comments on Zuby's. I just posted it in private chat, by the way. He comments on Zuby's. Like, you know how Zuby is like practical conspiracy theorist. Like, so Zuby's got that.
He's a musician.
Yeah, Zuby. He's a hexagon as well.
Yeah. Because he did the thing with Richard Hart.
He also, he did a thing with Richard Hart. He's a hexagon. He also was not a panelist. You know, on the Bitcoin conferences, how they go to the speakers, they go into the stages, they film the stages, and then in between, while they're resetting the stage, they go to that it's like a Bitcoin desk where they're like out in the foyer, like in the lobby, and there's people walking around, and they like they switch up who's there, and then they interview them and they talk about what's just been said, and then they just chat until the next speech is ready to go. He was one of the like panelists or like speakers at that spot, and I was like, please talk about HEX, please talk about HEX, please talk about HEX. He didn't, but he did do his usual thing where he talked a lot about freedom and these sorts of things, and he's got a really, really good way of explaining things. Like, he does it in a way where it wouldn't be off-putting to like normies who believe propaganda. He just says it very like calmly and pragmatically, to the point where you just can't disagree with it. It's like he's definitely a voice of reason.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if he's a Hexican, and Elon Musk is replying to his Elon Musk replies to his tweets.
We need Elon Musk replying to Richard Hart's tweets. That's what we need.
Yeah, that would be dope.
So they look so cute and cuddly, but the slightest thing can turn this beautiful creature into something so dangerous and violent that the toughest of men could be killed or maimed for life. Here you can see it cuddling a bear. Excellent.
Dude, it's so good. That is so good. Yeah, I butchered it, because the important thing about it is like, when you're reading it for the first time, you actually think it fits speaking about the bear so well, right? Like that it can look so calm and beautiful, and then, but like it can just suddenly snap. And then when you realize that it's talking about the chick and you go and reread it, it still fits perfectly, bro.
It fits perfectly.
Perfectly. It fits perfectly for both.
Dude, I reckon that bear's got a fucking heart on.
It would have to, bro.
He's got his paws in all the right places, man.
Bro, I think, boy, that is funny call of all the streams we have done so far. That is like funniest comment. Definitely for this year. My memories probably doesn't span back the many hundreds of episodes that we've done. How, like, we've done a shitload of episodes, right? We've done like over 100 episodes.
We've done
nearly
this one. Yeah, we're almost up to 151.
So
I can't believe.
What are we going to do for our 150th episode, bro? We better do something special.
150th episode.
Dude, that's epic.
150 episodes. You mean I've been sitting on the couch for 150 episodes for 2 hours?
Almost 3 years. It's almost 3 years.
What the fuck? What are we doing with our lives, man?
Bro. Nah, do you know how I justify it, man? So that I don't guilt myself for time spent doing something like this. I have learned so much. Like, so maybe not every stream, but there are certain streams where I learn something that to me is worth all the other streams that I don't learn shit. And as importantly, or some would say more importantly, there have been some where I have heard about something that I've gone and bought and it has made me money. Like, and so that I wouldn't have gone, I wouldn't have even known about the shit if I hadn't been on the stream. So
for me, it's also getting an opportunity to interact with the community, because for me, this is a big part of what the community means to me. Like doing the stream and just seeing seeing familiar names in the chat, people who I know of, I like haven't met. I haven't met anyone pretty much, but you know, I feel like I'll meet, I would say, a proportion of you at some stage in the future, possibly drinking champagne on a yacht.
You know it. You know it.
So yeah, dude.
I saw a tweet where someone was like, think about if you're positioned in any of HEX, Pulse, PulseX, like how, like any one of them, it's pretty unlikely that you're not going to do well. So if you're positioned in all three, and we'll call it 4 because it's like you end up with 2 hexes. So if you've got a position in all 4 of those coins, like it's, I don't want to hand out guarantees, but I guarantee you will get rich. No.
Oh, dude.
Do you know how I can get away with that though? Rich is subjective. Rich is a state of mind, not a number in your bank account.
You'll be rich in crypto.
You'll be rich in
crypto.
In community. You'll be rich in number of Pulse tokens. They might be worthless. They might be worthless.
Rich in the amount of maths you'll be posting to the internet.
The unit bias, like the balance on your screen, will be huge.
Oh man! Look, it's so hard to say because there's so much. It's just like there's that thing that most layer ones have done really, really well. That's the first thing.
Oh yeah, name a layer one that hasn't done well. Like that had reasonable hype around it.
But
like a hype
not
layer
only
one
that
that didn't do it. It doesn't exist, bro.
Yeah,
it doesn't
exist. Like not a well-known layer one. And Pulse is going to be well-known. People are going to know
it's
about
well-known.
it. It's going to be
hype. It's hype as fuck, bro.
But let's just talk about why is PulseX something different? And it's the only version of an AMM which has been created by harvesting liquidity out of pools from a fork. So it's unique in that respect, and nothing like that's ever been done before. That has never been done before. So it's going to be interesting, dude. From that, like, it's going to be really, really interesting. And I think that
for me,
PulseX long term is going to be crazy, dude.
I don't think that would even necessarily crack the top 3 for me. For me, it's like the community, seeing what the community was able to do with HEX and knowing that there's a big overlap of the community over there is epic. The
PulseChain is way bigger, dude. PulseChain is way bigger.
Yeah, way bigger. The effort that Richard is putting in to make this thing even better than Ethereum, like those devs are perfectionists, and like the way that they're trying to do it so that it's actually better, and remember that ETH was like a work in progress for a long time, whereas this will be starting out the gate. Like, I don't want to say it'll be perfect, but it'll be as far as blockchain goes, it's going to be well above average, right? I don't think there will be a near competitor in terms of the quality of the blockchain and the code and shit. And 3 is, I believe that we've got the best chance to have and I guess this technically falls under community, but I think we've got the best chance of having things like censorship resistance actually working out, because I think the community will take that shit seriously because of the ethics that Richard has instilled within the community, that censorship resistance is important. And so with those 3 things, those are the things that I'm most excited about with PulseChain over any other chain. And then down the list are these other things like, fucking how polished the UIs are, and how the DEX works, and and maybe like the hype level and the way that people do shit. There was some other stuff I was going to list that, cheap and fast and cheap fees and all of that shit to me is like not as important as those first 3 things that I listed.
Can you list them one more time, dude?
Ooh.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
So it was.
I was reading something, and it
was the community, and the fact that basically when you have strong community, you always have a strong onboarding and buyer base. You've got holders of last resort, and you've got buyers of last resort, and you've got onboarding that is more hardcore. And unfortunately, the coin that I would point to as the example of this, well, other than HEX, is something like Ripple. Ripple was total garbage, fake blockchain shit, and yet its price didn't do too badly, even under SEC attack, like hardcore SEC attack. because of the strength of their community and how much they believed in it, how much they promote it, how much they tell their friends to buy it. So that's number one. That was community. Number two was I think the code is going to be, I think this blockchain is going to launch at a much higher standard than any of the other blockchains. I think all the other ones, they rushed it out the door to an extent. They were like, let's get this thing going so we can get rich. Let's just get this thing online so we can start getting rich, print our own money, and we'll so Polygon, let's have admin keys so we can fix shit later. Solana going down all the fucking time, and the latest one, they didn't even know why. Ethereum, the very first one, so you know that like the tech was underdeveloped and shit like that, and we're effectively building on the best of the best shit of theirs plus better. The devs being perfectionists, the fact that if I went through some of these other chains, that it's like Binance is an accusation of it being like super centralized and most of the nodes being controlled by Binance themselves. I don't know how true that is, but I think if you were like Chris Black, you could go and find the flaw in all of these L1s. What is the flaw? If you looked deep enough, I bet all of these L1 competitors to Ethereum, there's something you could point to and be like, it's fucked because of this reason. And now Ethereum itself is censorship chain. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask, is there a site that tells us how many nodes there are, how many validators and nodes there are in Ethereum? Because I'm gonna lay out the gauntlet here. I think we should aim to beat Ethereum on that metric.
Ivan on Tech, I think so. Ivan on Tech always speaks about these tools that are really useful, and I always forget to bookmark them. But I think he did mention in one of his streams a site that you can go to that you can look at these. You can look at all these stats.
Does anyone know? Does anyone know the answer to that question in the chat? Is there a website where we can see how many nodes? Oh, why not just fucking Google it? Hey, how many?
So I've got a lot of reasons why I think that PulseChain will actually be far superior in the code. Oh, someone's in the private chat.
Someone's in the private chat. What?
And then so that was the first two: community, code quality, like the quality of the blockchain being like a level above everything else. And then the last one was, which technically actually is a part of both of those first two categories, is actually maintaining censorship resistance, which I think is so critical. Like Chris Black, Walrus was in a Twitter space with Chris Black, and they were talking about how DeFi lost its way, and many people, it's Jexer.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, he just said in the private chat, he said it's Jexer.
Oh,
I think he's doing that tag as a joke because we were talking about like bears and.
Oh right.
I think it might be like
who is this motherfucker in my green room? And I booted him out. I booted him the fuck. I'm like, do you know what I thought? I thought, who is the?
You thought someone hacked it?
No, I thought, who's the motherfucker who gave out the, link? And I'm like thinking, who's the rookie ass?
Who's the rookie ass?
Gave out the link,
bro.
RSPCA.
Hey boys.
Hey,
yo, Jackson, what's up?
Going pretty well. I was tuning in on the way drive home from playing a bit of sport, and I've got a few concerns talking about bestiality now on the stream.
What? Are we?
The picture with the bear?
Oh. Yeah. I didn't say she was into
he
it.
didn't. He didn't. Wait, there was no penetration.
No. I just said
it was consensual.
And
no, but it's a well-known fact that sometimes animals, like when there's a hot chick around, sometimes they get like hard-ons, man.
Wait, do you remember the
I'm here with proof of sweat. I've just been playing squash, so I'm a bit sweaty.
Do you guys remember the South Park episode where they teach Stan how to do Red Rocket, where he jacks off the dog, and he doesn't realize that that's something that you shouldn't do, and the dad just loses his mind. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" Red Rocket, Red Rocket, Red Rocket. How you been, Jex?
Yeah, going all right, guys. I did say I'd drop in a little bit more and be part of the Tuesday stream, but I've got a bit of a conflict. Like I'm trying to be good and do a bit of exercise, and I've got the main sport I play just happens to clash on a Tuesday, so I had to make a hard call.
Well, lucky we go long.
That's it. So I tuned in for half an hour before it started and was listening on the ride home.
So, guys, there's a website called Etherscan that has node tracker. So, yeah.
This is one of those
actually
cheeky...
12,100 Ethereum nodes. So this is what I reckon. I'm going to lay out the gauntlet. I would love, can you imagine the bragging rights that we would have as PulseChains, as hexagons, if we had more nodes, more of a distributed network than Ethereum?
I'll put it out there. I guarantee we will.
That's a guarantee from Jexa.
Guarantee. We had. Did you see how much support was on testnet? Man, every man his dog was running up nodes on that, and that wasn't even going to be profitable to do that. Validators, it was questionable whether you were going to make a nickel out of running a validator.
If also, Richard said
he's going to make it like very easy.
Yeah, if it's an EXE that you just double click and it just goes, man.
Then who's not going to run it? Like,
yeah. Oh, dude.
Wait, do you know what I hope? I hope that someone goes and makes the Docker containers or whatever, so that, because if Richard's got it so that it's like a script that installs everything on your computer. But we still need like the actual raw shit individually, so that if you're doing it on like a NAS or something, that you can actually use Docker and like, you know what I mean? If it's like a double click exe, then you can't just put that on
Windows.
Like you can't just take it on your NAS, because the NAS is not like, it's not the OS. It's not a typical OS like the Linux. Are NASs a version of Linux?
It depends. Some of them are.
It depends. So so I think it's still, even though Richard's going for ease of use, that he wants those executables that can actually just do it on any operating system. Yeah, I think it would also be good to have the raw ability to be able to do it on any NAS and any. I'm sure he will. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, like there's a lot of keen people to see this up and running, and would throw support behind it, and if need be, run multiple nodes and things like that. There is so many techies in our community.
That would be such bragging rights. Do you know? Like,
let's do it.
That is crazy. Anytime an Ethereum person like says anything, you'd be like, "Motherfucker, we have more nodes than you."
And real decentralized nodes, not just ones that are all on not just all on AWS and shit.
Yeah,
it'd be good if you could see like the concentration of nodes if they were like on these centralized parties.
I reckon you could, because
you probably can.
You know who owns the IP ranges, so that would.
So you could cluster them and be like, you guys have actually only got like, if you cluster these together, you guys have actually only got this many different nodes. We've got like nodes all over the world, fully decentralized. Let's up this up the ante on what Day 43 is asked for, within a certain time frame, because I reckon we can do it quick. I reckon within the first, should we do 2 weeks or a month? Should we do within the first month for us to overtake? Because if it's literally that simple to run a node, I reckon it's going to happen fast, right? Like, because everyone's going to be hype and excited and talking about it on Twitter and shit.
Dude, you know what? Can I make I want to up the ante. I think we can get Bitcoin.
How many they got?
15,000. Viewable. So they've got the thing that there's nodes that aren't viewable.
Oh, true. They've got Tor network, hidden nodes.
We just don't know. But of the viewable ones, there's 15,000. I think we can get that.
So on Ether, are they all validators?
No, they're just nodes.
Just nodes, yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
someone tweeted out, just bought a 24-unit apartment complex. HEX is at 7 cents. Dude, what's he going to be buying at all-time high? Like
Nothing, because he just fucking sold all his HEX. Man, that's hey, maybe that's the dude who just or lady who just sold their 127 million HEX.
He's got a pinned tweet that says just bought a 250,000 HEX on September 13th. So that would be like right at the lows, hey?
250,000.
It doesn't say whether it's a 250,000 in terms of like a 250,000.
It would have to be $250,000
or $250,000 worth of HEX.
Yeah, would have to be $250,000 worth.
It technically could be either, though. It just says just bought a 250,000 HEX.
But a 250,000 HEX times 4 is not gonna. It's only 1 million HEX, which is only, what is that? $70,000 at the moment, US. So it would have to be $250,000, which would be a mil if it's done a 4x. How are they buying a 24 apartment complex for $1 million? Where are they?
Richard tweeted out.
I want to go live there.
Africa. Where are
Richard tweeted out that, but that might have not been his only bag. Like, as in that those tweets could be independent of each other.
It'd have to be somewhere where real estate's cheap, though.
Richard tweet. I just saw that tweet you're talking about from Richard, where he's talking about the fees on Ethereum, and then said PulseChain can't come soon enough. Do you guys think that is like any kind of indication, if he's getting mouthy like that it is coming soon?
He said that 18 months ago.
He said that. He has said that.
I think it's coming soon. When I said soon, when we just sacrificed, is different to my soon now.
Yeah,
my soon now could be like 3 months. Like
I said 2 weeks. I said 2 weeks, and I forget whether that was actually 2 weeks ago. I thought that when we got that bug fixed tweet. I want to go and look at where that bug fixed tweet is.
That was mid-Feb, I think.
Oh shit! All right, well then I was wrong about that.
Imagine trading passive income for income that requires maintenance, property taxes, chasing rent checks, fixing people's problems with their units, etc. Worst trade.
I hear you, Briz. I
agree.
I struggle with that all the time. Like, you sit there and you go, okay, what should I do if you've made a few gains? What's your next move? Or even look into the future, what's your move? How would you invest it? And it's hard to look at shit like that and say, I want to.
What's your land tax like in? What's your land tax like in Perth?
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, everything. But it's just in owning a property, there's so many middlemen inserted into that transaction. Landlords that
Can I ask
managers
in Perth,
and things like that.
do you have land tax on farms that actually work? That farms
Not sure about that one.
Stuff?
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
In Victoria, they're exempt from land tax.
Yeah.
So it's a long-term play if you buy a farm that you can rent out to a company that's going to, grow shit on it. But I mean, it seems like a lot of work as well. Seems like a lot of work to have to manage that shit.
Like, maybe commercial properties might be okay, but residential, having a portfolio of residential stuff does not interest me at all. That would be hard work. I've done it a couple of times, had a few properties, and dealing with tenants and things like that. It ain't fun.
No.
So feel your Briz. It's although we have a lot of volatility in crypto, it's not a bad place.
Interest rate hike today. Kaz just said. I said Kaz.
Another one, still going, aren't
they? Legacy doesn't impact me and or crypto. I'm manifesting that shit and driving the narrative. This is my narrative. Or like on this stream, it's not just my narrative, but I am going to be driving this idea of like fuck legacy, fuck governments.
Can you buy muscle
control
cars?
Our shit. We can
Can you buy
decorrelate.
muscle cars? I think muscle cars, old
Classic
school
cars,
muscle cars,
classic
are
cars.
a great investment.
Yep.
Great
yep.
investment.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, I've actually changed my tune on a lot of things like that. I used to think they were wasteful. Same with like the watches and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But there's a time and a place when they actually are like it's worth having your funds in those assets like that.
I'll tell you what's amazing about a diamond encrusted watch. You can go and travel wherever the fuck you want, and you never have to declare that shit. It's your clothing. You're not carrying money, but in a pinch, if something goes wrong, you've got like the price of a house on your fucking wrist. So there's no declarations. You're not carrying cash or gold bars or any shit. You're just wearing your watch, but you happen to have expensive taste, bro. Yeah. And you can load your partner up with expensive jewelry and shit like that. That's also not carrying money. It's just, this chick I'm with just demands I buy all this expensive jewelry. And that's how you can travel around. And if shit ever hits the fan, you've got literally enough to reset up your life hanging around her neck and your wrist.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to declare that shit when you go through.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because we obviously just traveled recently, went to Japan, and the amount of shit we had to fill out to get into Japan was insane. Like we had to jump through all of these hoops and go online and fill out all these forms. And then had to declare things there, and then coming back into Oz, obviously had to declare things. And I'm pretty sure when I read the questions, it was if you were carrying something that was worth more than $900 or something stupid, you had to.
But the thing is,
if it was a gift, a gift or something you purchased, though,
yeah, there was definitely that. Yeah, there was definitely that, and then there might have been something else as well. There was some other little gotcha there that I remember reading and going, "What the fuck?"
From memory, and I haven't traveled for a really long time because of everything that happened, but from memory, I remember the one that Day 43 is talking about. I'm pointing the wrong way.
Yeah, definitely.
The one where it's like if someone gifted it to you or you bought it, which would then theoretically exclude it if it was already your possessions when you started traveling. But if you reckon they've added something that gets you, but so the thing is, though,
this guy's like they can't cut your ass off.
So
the good old prison wallet.
The thing that I will,
take your wife's necklace. And
the thing that I will say is, if that country is still pretending to be a legitimate democracy, right? We know that they're all on the spectrum of tyranny, but as long as that country that you're traveling to and from is pretending to still be a democracy, then when you declare that watch and you're like, yeah, I'm wearing a watch that's worth over $900, they shouldn't be taking it off you. They shouldn't be like, yo, that's ours now. Like, as in, so you should still, even though you might have to declare it, it should still be allowed to travel with it, right? Like they should still be like, okay, you declared it, that's fine, carry on.
If you took it out of the country with you, then you shouldn't need to pay any tax on it. That's what they're like. They're getting to like the thing of like, if you're bringing in something of value from overseas, you might need to pay tax to bring it in.
It's taxes.
You might have to pay GST
for some countries,
to bring it in.
For some countries, it's also capital flight.
That's exactly
you are right. You are right that they mainly want to know if they can tax your ass.
They want to know if you have to pay GST on it.
I would argue that it's probably more capital flight.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Because like the tax or the import duties or whatever they're going to charge you, that's a small amount in comparison to the amount of funds that you could have leave your country.
But they don't ask you how much it's worth. They just ask you if it's over $900.
No, yeah, I've never.
But bro, if you tick that box, they send you down the alley that goes where you have to go and show them
where they snap on the rubber gloves.
They did to me.
And then they're like, you tick this box, what's up? And you're like, it's my watch. And then they're gonna look at it and they're gonna be like, that's a nice watch. That's a nice watch, bro. You got some wallet and some shoes as well.
Okay, how many years ago do you reckon you traveled? What was the first time you traveled overseas? Yeah, or 43. How long ago was
me?
How many years do you reckon that was?
40 years ago.
40 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you had to fill out one of those declaration cards, how much worth of cash do you have to declare?
10,000.
10,000.
Been like that for 40 years.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Why is
Yeah.
you gone like this?
Yeah, this
So-
is bracket creep. This is
Yeah,
bracket
yeah.
creep.
Yeah.
I reckon it's deliberate.
Dude,
Yeah.
bracket creep is is up the top of the list of government plays. Like bracket creep in every fucking department, whether it be land tax, state government land tax, whether it be like your income tax, whether it be that shit.
Okay, what's one that they just introduced 2 weeks ago? The 3 mil super, and the big tagline was,
I heard about that.
There's only 50 people that will get affected now.
Jexa.
Exactly.
Last week, I ranted about that for like 5 fucking minutes, and someone like put a comment in the last week's chat that no one gives a fuck about your opinions and shit. I'm like, bro, this is my fucking show. You can if you don't like it, fuck off.
Also, the concept applies to all countries. So just because we're talking about an example that's within Australia, this is relevant to every government, that they insert a rule that is based on an amount of an absolute number of dollars. And then as inflation goes on year by year, that amount becomes worth less and less and less in real terms.
Yep.
You go on a holiday and try not to spend 10 grand on a decent holiday. That's fucking near impossible. So everyone's got
$3 million seems like a lot of money. It seems like a lot of money, but in 20 or 30 years, that's not going to be that much. It's going to still be a lot of money, but it's not going to be that much money. And on top of that, do the calculation. Let's say your super has a property in it, because what's your super going to have? It's going to have investments, right? It might have some commercial property. It might have something in it. $3 million for commercial property in Australia is not that much, right? So what's the returns on commercial property at the moment in Australia? Maybe
say
between
5-6.
4-5-6%, maybe, right? So 150 grand. We're talking 150 grand to 180 grand, right, of income for a 3 million before you get a higher tax rate.
Yeah,
dude, that's not that much when you've got to consider land tax. Dude, in Victoria, land tax is just has gone crazy because all the valuations have gone up so much.
Yep. So in theory, property doubles every, they say, sort of 8 to 10 years. The value of your property doubles. So if you're holding property in your super fund,
is Funding Jim here? Where's Funding Jim?
He DM'd me on Twitter. I only just saw it, but actually it's from 1 minute ago, so it must have actually just been recent.
I got you, Gary. I got you, bro. Hang on.
While you're sorting that out, I just wanted to mention, just quick PSA. Someone I know got their house broken into / attempted break-in, and so care about your home security. As in, there's so many on domestic properties, there's so many easy entry points, and sometimes I started doing a lot of research on it, and they did this survey of prisoners who were full-time thieves, break and enter, repeat offenders, and they said sometimes things are the opposite of what you think. So some criminals get deterred if they see security cameras. Some criminals think that means there's valuable shit in your house if you're going to that effort to have heightened security. Same things with fences and shit like that. Anything that shows that you're trying to defend your property could indicate there's something valuable inside. So you want to get I know that makes it really difficult, but you want to get some good balance of you want to delay the person from being able to get inside your house. You want to be able to F them up once they are inside your house. No, just kidding. You want something that's going to alert you to the fact that they are in your house, whether you're home or out. You need something to tell you that someone is intruding. And what's the other one? And then once they get in, you want to make sure that you minimize their ability to get your shit. So lock boxes, safes, hiding shit away. Your hardware wallets should probably be hidden or in a safe when you're out of your home. So those 3 steps: slow them down, get alerted that they're breaking in, make sure that once they're in, they've got very limited shit that they can actually steal easily.
Have a dog.
I get, and look, everyone's got a different situation, so it's too complex to try and give general advice. But having a badass dog is a pretty good one because they will rip that shit up.
What about a teenager on an iPhone in their room?
They won't even know. They won't even know the house is broken into. You'll get home, and there'll just be broken glass everywhere, and you'll be like, "Yo, what happened?" And they're like, "What?
Hey,
Gary, what's going on?" Did you hear us talking about real estate? And you were like, "Yes,
you're
I'm
a little
in on
bit
this
low,
combo."
but I'll pump you up a bit. I'll pump you up.
Yeah, Little Bird told me you were talking about real estate and how it combines. So it's very interesting.
We were bitching and moaning about real estate in Australia. We were bitching and moaning about it.
It's one of those forever all-time highs, right? It's always at an all-time high in Australia.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
The taxes are on an all-time high.
Yeah. We had a 60% correction not so long ago. So
60%, really? Wow.
But it depends where you are. It depends where you
Oh
are.
yeah,
So
that's like anything, yeah. But that was on the average across our state. That was 60%.
So I think inner city apartments and far away out of city holiday homes got hit the hardest. And then your like near city suburbia homes were like the ones that survived it the most.
Oh, it was definitely segments. Yeah.
What's the reference point? Like, is the reference point before 2020 and the inflation in market price, or was it? What's the reference when people say 60% hit?
Yeah. So we in WA we're resources intensive, so our economy sort of runs counter-cyclical to the rest of the East Coast. So during the GFC, we actually performed really, really well, and we probably done 100% on our properties. Sydney and Melbourne always lead the way. They started to tank, and then from our high, we pulled back 60% over the course of the next 3 or 4 years after the GFC. So yeah,
is that at all related to exports from Australia or from like minerals and things like that because of supply disruptions? Like
it's more about the flow of income and employment into the state. So when we have a boom, everyone floods over for the employment opportunities. So then you go through a glut of housing, you get a run up. Then like me, I'm a developer, so we'll fire up and we start building all the properties and everything. And then obviously it gets overshot and too many get built. Then there's a pullback, people leave the state, and just ebbs and flows. It's the same, does that cycle every 10 years or so. We're currently in a good stage at the moment. Our properties are pumping.
So I'm unfamiliar with the culture. I'm assuming it's similar to American culture, but I'm not sure. Is it that when the teenagers are 17, 18 years old, they're yearning to have independence and they live apart from home, whereas in Asian cultures and Indian cultures, they're more multi-generation in the same house, and that's a normal. Like, what is the normal culturally?
Yeah, so there is a lot more multi-gen homes getting built now, just simply because it's a matter of economy. You've got to be able to do that. Kids probably hang around. Yeah, I reckon kids probably hang around till about
something. Yeah.
On average, I'd say kids hang around till about 25, 26.
Older than before. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is quite a difference between where
not by choice.
Like these guys live on the other side of the country. So they're about 4 hours.
Oh, sorry. My timing delay. Bad.
Oh, and there's a bit of I'm hearing feedback.
Well, I've got sound suppression set on. Is there something else I should do on audio?
No, sounds right to me.
Oh, maybe it's just
okay. But I have a lag. You guys are in a different, time zone and everything. So in multiple generations and in different areas of the states, the cultural norm about when you're expected to live independent is different. So if you live in one of the major cities on the coast, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, then it's because of it being high expense and a normal to be a high expense for housing, people tend to stay closer to home. And like you said, multi-generational for longer to 25. If it's in the center of the states, especially a lot of the conservative states, it's all of my life, it has been a normal to kind of eject, especially the boys, by like 18, 19, you're getting socially shunned if you're not independent by 19 or 20. You're still living at home or something like that, right? So like a lot will go into the military because that's an exit to independence in some ways. A lot will go into maybe they go to college and things like that too, but they end up setting aside their own plots of land or their own taking some part of the herd and kind of becoming very independent minded as far as productive earlier in time. And what I've always heard about Australia, which I'm sure is incorrect, is it's mining export, that it's a lot of mineral export to other countries. And I don't know if it's the same like conservative areas that are crop and produce of calorie, or if it's more like export to the world and finance independence that way.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in for
for
a
it.
second?
Yeah.
I think where the boys live in Perth, Western Australia, it's quite a big territory. It's like half of Australia, and there's a lot of mining stuff going on in that state. There's also a lot of mining stuff going on in Queensland, not so much in New South Wales, but Victoria and Sydney and Melbourne are the biggest cities in Australia, and we have a different focus for work. I can tell you that in metropolitan Sydney and Melbourne, there is no way someone at 18 is going off and buying a property. It's just not happening, because even an apartment you're looking at $500,000 for like a 2-bedroom apartment. So good luck saving up the money if you're 18. You need 5-6 years of staying with your parents and working, living like a hermit, and earning good money to save a deposit for property in Australia. And a lot of that generation complain about it, and rightly so, because how can they get in?
So does, the pitch for a long time has been that buy your place that you live, because why would you throw rent away? But also a pitch has been that it is at least an equity of the property value to resell in the future. It is outpacing the currency inflation. Is that true? Like if you have an interest rate of 6%, 8%, fixed mortgage kind of thing, does it outpace the national fiat currency inflation?
I would say no. You're probably holding your dollar value. Maybe
California is like that as far as the states.
Yeah.
California, is a subset, and because there's so much about making it easy to finance and things like that for younger people, don't even have any kind of college. Maybe they're the first year of college that they can get finance programs and so forth. And it is a setup in a lot of ways, because I did post on my Twitter a while back about which would you think is a better deal? Would you think that buying a house in the United States, as far as average, I think it was actually Canada was being used as the average. If you bought a home in 1982, I think it was 82, might have been 86. But if you bought a home in 1982 at 19.25 APR, fixed APR, 19.25, is that a worse deal than today in the United States, a fixed mortgage of 5.25 APR? Is it a worse deal?
I don't know the answer. I'd have to do the numbers. I would, on the face of it. Well, it's a tricky one, because you're dealing with bigger numbers, so smaller percentage increase. On a larger amount.
The gut reaction would be 19% interest per year APR. That seems ridiculous. That's 1/5 of the cost of the house in interest. Why would you ever do that when you have the option in today's currency and today's valuations to be 5.25%? But the difference is in 1982 or 86, I can't remember the reference, and this is based in Toronto. All the numbers are crunched out of Toronto, and so you would have had a $75,000 average median home, and you would have had the average income, from 1982 to finance, and it would have been less than a third of your median income, and it would have been 1/10 of today's cost. So at a higher interest rate, your $75,000 house financed at 19.25 was less than a third of your median income. But in today's currency and finance situation, all the programs that make it easier to buy at lower skin in the game, lower down payment, lower qualification, and so forth, to enable home ownership as a path toward stability or purchase, preservation, purchase value preservation, like that's the pitch. You're actually far worse. And it is because the average home price in 2023 is $750,000. So 10x in the price, but 1/3 or less of the interest rate, and you're still paying more than 50% of your annual median income. So you're paying more. You just have the illusion through lower APR. And you even have subsidy by, like additional peer pressure or family pressure that says, because they don't really crunch the numbers. Mom and dad say, wow, we used to pay 15%. And I can't believe you can get it at 5%. That's ridiculous. It is a pressure thing when people don't actually run the numbers. If you run the numbers, it's a real bad setup.
Property prices have outpaced income increases in Australia, at least.
I don't think we've had the same
many
wage
times
growth.
over.
So you're obviously pretty big on property, Gary. Has your opinion changed since the world of cryptos come along in terms of assets to hold, and what's your view now? Obviously, you were.
Well, I do it for different reasons, and my niche market that is cash flow for me it's niche. It's not single family homes that are renting to people that are raising their family close to where they work or close to the good schools or things like that. So my profile of my tenant, I actually build out my tenant list long before I start looking for the property. And so I build out my eligible renter rosters, and I decide, okay, now I think I've reached a tipping point that I should find a property to suit this list of people. And it's not individuals, but it's profiles. Sometimes it's individuals. Sometimes I'll have a waiting list. And that has changed to a degree with the pressure to decentralize from the lockdown of the planet. So you would have had more concentration before the lockdown of the planet and the experience that people went through, where they learned that they could teleconference, or they learned that they had to be efficient with their home time and things like that, instead of commute or whatever it may be, right? And if they didn't perform on their own responsibility, then they got let go, because there's job market and there's competition.
Hey,
so
Gary.
like my niche is different. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to ask. I want to ask you a question, but you finish.
Yeah. So my niche of renters and cash flow is different, but if I'm looking at like conventional investing, single family homes, close to something that requires that person to be close to that area, like close to a medical center, a major medical center, that's always going to be great, because sick people still have to concentrate to places that can treat them or can service their needs. So if it's within 2 miles of a major medical center, it's golden as far as a rental property. You can always put travel nurses, travel physicians. You could always put techs. You could always put people that are long-term staff, things like that. Sometimes factory towns and things like that have been useful, but factories tends to move where the cheaper labor is, if it's relatively unskilled labor. I used to believe more in Silicon Valley in general, and willing to pay the high cost of the property or through lease or purchase, because it was a brain drain from other countries, and it was concentrating intelligence in an area to focus on startup culture. I used to like that, but that was because the area in Palo Alto and San Francisco and all the different south of San Francisco areas, they benefited from someone buying a song off of iTunes in a different country, effectively bringing that value and concentrating it to where the IP is located. And then those people that have stock options by working at Amazon or Google or eBay or whatever, they don't like to commute 2 hours. They prefer to commute 20 minutes. So they overinflate that market. But now, if you are able to work from home or from some other geolocation, then the market has changed a lot. So I still will invest in places that have a reason that you have to be in an area. And those are vacation. People still want a vacation. They'll go to the pretty spots close to water. That's always going to be a premium. And then really for me, it's only medical and not even schools. I used to look close to like student housing things, but I don't look there anymore because I think that that's going to shift also over the next few years.
If you're 20 something, trying to get into the property game is very capital intensive. And
I don't think that they should be in big cities though. And I think that we've seen a lot of New York and California high real estate cost areas either force out their young and they're productive to be in other areas, especially if they can be entrepreneurial or they can provide a service or good from a different location. So that's why you see places like Tennessee and Texas and Florida in the United States be real estate booms, and you see a depletion from of both equity value and personnel and things like that. Same thing with Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico went through that as well. Puerto Rico's job economy was terrible in 2010, 11, because basically you had call centers that were employing Puerto Ricans and they were effectively paying a high labor rate for the trade-off of low taxation. So they would run a call center, all your credit cards in the United States and things like that. They would go, when you had a problem, you would call a call center, and the call center would be based mostly in like Puerto Rico and such. And also with pharmaceuticals. So a lot of the pharmaceutical needs for hospitals and medicines and things like that were actually produced in Puerto Rico in pre-2010-ish. But with globalization in general, the reduction in tax doesn't make it worthwhile to pay high labor. So the call centers moved to India. The reduction in tax doesn't make it worthwhile to run to get all the precursors to medications and things like that from China and then basically combine them in Puerto Rico. And so that industry died. And so what you saw was the next generation or the young might learn IT things. They might learn graphic design, video editing, all these other things as far as social media content. And then their opportunity is not in Puerto Rico. Their opportunity would be to go to Florida, Boston, Washington, D.C., New York. So you saw a big export of their youth culture. And the only people that are staying there now are really the elder or the older, that basically are traditionalists and don't really, they do thrive off of their own economy, a closed economy, as far as trade amongst each other. And then you see, people that live in the digital realm, like cryptocurrency, bankers, traders, and things like that, basically migrate to Puerto Rico for tax structure, but they're not really net employers. They were simply paying a lower tax than they would have anywhere else. So those areas, real estate has been high, by comparison, even though they have super high vacancy. I think 1 out of every 3 properties in Puerto Rico is vacant and has been for many years. But most of the people that want to live there want to live close to the ocean, close to the airport. They're staying kind of colonists because it's mostly stateside people, or tourists or vacationers from the States that are coming to a Caribbean island. So you see super high, like my rents, even when I was leasing in Puerto Rico, were really, really high by comparison to the rents in the United States, even compared to California. But that's because it is catering to a certain population that wants to be close to the airport, close to finance, make sure that the internet never goes down, make sure that power never goes down, and they're willing to subsidize their life by having a higher premium of cost of living because they're benefiting from lower tax. So it depends on the dynamic and what concentrates people.
Gary, I think Tangent, you were going to ask a question.
Yes. I wanted to ask, over there, are you allowed to discriminate against pets?
Pets aren't humans. So yeah, we discriminate. We eat them all the time. We discriminate all the time on animals.
And I mean, for tenants, are you allowed to be like, if you've got pets, you're not allowed to rent my shit?
Yeah, we still have property rights unless, again, there's a get around. Of course, people will take advantage of the get around, and the get around will be, I need to have a comfort creature on my airplane, and my comfort creature happens to be a peacock. So yeah, there's people that get around, and they claim
like a guide dog for a blind person.
Like a mental health pet.
Yeah, or a comfort pig, or this is my favorite goat. And every so often they will be on, an airplane or forced upon the landlord.
Did you say a comfort pig?
Comfort pig. There's comfort pigs. Vietnamese little potbelly pigs and things like that have the same rights as Fido.
And so it sounds like it's the same over there. Like, you're not allowed to discriminate against someone with children, but you are allowed to discriminate against someone with pets. Roughly speaking.
There's a questionnaire, and again, these are the same sort of things that go around every society through all of time. You can have a rule that's set by the government or by the dictator and says you must do this, and if you don't, you're in trouble. And still, we are social consensus. There's all kinds of ways that people can get, if they choose to push back against it, they can limit it in some way. So I wouldn't say that it's right to. Again, these are individual choices. Like, why is it that even in the United States, you can have a 55 or older community, that it's required that you're 55 or older to be on the lease?
Oh yeah,
right?
we've got that.
Right. So why can't there was a Seinfeld episode where Kramer, I think, went to go live with Seinfeld's father. Or no, yeah, I think it was Seinfeld or one of the two. Well, I think it was just Seinfeld's dad, in a retirement community, right? And had all the benefits of, being a 20-something-year-old, 30-year-old living with grandparents. So like, we have social things and we have some rule sets around them, but yeah, we still have weird stuff too.
Yeah, sure.
Can I tell you some of the new weird rules that, well, I guess they're not weird. They're just new rules that they've brought in my state. I want to know what you think about them, Gary, in relation to renters. So now, and this just came in January, now I can't ask a tenant to leave the property unless I want to go live in it myself, or
selling,
or selling. Or I need to renovate it. And before you say, oh, that's easy, just, tell them one thing and then do something. Yeah. No,
they actually check on it.
No, if you're not allowed to re-rent the property out for 6 months after you say that you've gone into the place yourself, or if you're going to sell it, you're not allowed to re-rent it out in that time for 6 months. If you do, there's a $10,000 fine.
So you either cop the vacancy or the fine.
Yeah. And so talking about erosion of property rights, I would say that is an erosion of property rights.
But you can still choose the rent, right? So you can just put the rent up until they choose to leave.
In the interests of the renter, but it is an erosion of property rights because you no longer have a say in what. Like, there's other things that they've done. Like, there are more checks on all the appliances and everything working properly, which I'm not against. I think that's a good thing. It means that places will be safer. There's a cost, but you pass that on. But that one in particular is one that I'm not a fan of. That getting a fine for asking someone to leave. Oh, and also they don't need to sign a lease after the first year. So after the first 12 months. they have no obligation to sign another lease. They can just stay there indefinitely, month by month. So you have no certainty as a landlord that you've got someone for 12 months. So that's something.
So this is kind of sounding very close to or modeled after San Francisco has. We have rent controls in different places, New York and San Francisco most prominently. And I remember that there was a property that myself and another developer were going to buy in San Francisco. And it was 3 apartments, vertical. And there's also in San Francisco, there's a limit on how high you can build a building in certain areas, most of the area. So the reason that rents get so high or property cost to own is so high is because there's a limit on going vertical on an island. It's a peninsula, basically. So this peninsula, if you have popular want to be there, just like you want to be close to the ocean or anything else, market price should dictate who can or can't purchase or trade amongst each other to have property rights. That's the way a lot of things have transacted over human history. But then on top of that, you can layer a kind of socialist view, which is, some ways I can see how it got justified and passed. In some ways I'm like, this is terrible because economics actually play such a role. So this particular building was, the top floor was a lady that had started renting in her 40s, I think. And she started renting in the 1970s, late 70s or something. And she had entered, basically, she had been under rent control rules, which I think meant that you could only increase the rent by 1%, maybe 2% per year. So over the course of 40 years of occupancy, her rents had effectively gone up like only 40%. So the market rent in the area for a basic apartment, which she inhabited for such a long time, is around $4,000 per month, something like that. And this was like maybe 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. It's around $4,000, $4,500 per month. But her rent has been around $700 per month for decades, right? And then the tenants below, the next tenants in the next apartment down, she had the top apartment. The next apartment down, it was the parents had leased the property. And the children, as parents, they were a newlywed couple, and they had started renting in the mid 80s, maybe late 80s. And as a new couple, they signed the lease. The lease was originally a year lease, but like you had said, it went to month, and by rule set, as long as they don't miss payments, then they continue these rent control rules, right? So as long as they don't lose out on making payments. But then they also had changed the rules. The government had changed, the local municipality had changed the rules to say that children can inherit the rent control. So the parents had kids, and the kids were born into the apartment. And the socialist view was, this is the family home, and the children should be able to inherit the lease. So the children actually, when I was approaching the property in like 2017, 18, somewhere in there, they were the ones that had rent control because the parents had moved out long ago, and they left the children there as occupants once they hit teenage and 20s and so forth, and they continued to live in that area.
And now, they can leave it to their children. They can leave it to their children as well, right?
Yeah, you can pass on an heritage.
Does that not create a slum though?
Wait a minute. Here's the thing. So so the third apartment down, they had moved in a few years in the past, and they were obviously at a higher rate because the protections or whatever the rule set that they started the lease with, the owner had been able to reset the rents. And I think that their market rents were like in the $3,000 per month or something like that, right? So and then the bottom floor or the entry level, ground level floor is a retail. And the retail is a dry cleaner. And the dry cleaner had been in operation servicing the neighborhood as a business for like 15, 20 years, something like that, right? And so all of the pressure that the owner has is compliance with safety, maintenance, regulation, make sure that no one liable-wise dies in the property. That's the rule, right? Nobody should fall off of a balcony because it rusts through. The property itself shouldn't have holes in the roof that leaks down and harms people's life and lifestyle, right? But really, when you have the property taxes between 3% to 2%, I think something like that per year, the assessment the government places on the property value, it still needs to be paid for by the owner, or else they lose the property altogether, right? The property can be claimed because of tax debt. So the taxes per year are higher than all of the rents. The only thing you could do is increase the rents on the corporate lease at the ground level, which I think it was originally a 7-year lease. And so when the lease came due again to set the terms and allow for the window of retail, you've got to pay more. It was like 60% of the revenue that the dry cleaner even had incoming, right? So what happens? It creates a slum. And people say, that slumlord, they own a $3 million, $4 million building, and they're pushing these elderly population that are in their 80s and the children of people that have lived in, called this neighborhood home for 40 years, and they're harming and edification, or what do they call it? What's it called? Edification? Something like that, where they basically upgrade the neighborhood. Buildings on the
gentrification,
yeah, gentrification. So the buildings on the other sides, like on the same block, had gone through remodels, but they have something called the Ellis Act. And the Ellis Act is exactly what you just said. The Ellis Act has been there for a long time, which means if I bought the property, right, from the seller and said, I'm going to force out this tenant, right, I could force them out of the top apartment if I chose to, but that means that I can never, ever rent it again. It has to be my home. So I could have occupied the top apartment and then
that's hardcore. Never again.
Never. So it's on the plat books, it's on the rule books that you can never lease it again. It always has to be your primary residence.
Ever?
Yeah.
Like there's no time frame, like just
there's not a 6 months and then you can trade it kind of thing. No, it goes off. It's called the Ellis Act. It basically goes off on the rent. And again, if you break the rules by basically saying, underhandedly, you just pay me and I'll claim that I continue to live here, then there's massive fines and you can lose the property altogether, I think.
So what's the way out of a situation like this is adversarial thinking, and I don't think that like anyone should necessarily be an asshole as a landlord and do anything like this. But what about like just getting that, like putting the rent up so high for the commercial property at the bottom so they move out, and then just setting up some really loud shit that just like goes at night, and eventually the people above end up leaving because it's just not somewhere you can sleep at night. Yeah,
there's a older movie from the 80s in MTV, and it was called Joe's Apartment, and it was some teenager living with cockroaches or something like that in New York apartment. It kind of goes through the rent control thing too, and they do that sort of thing. They're trying to force out everybody in the neighborhood so that they can remodel. But here's the thing: again, the maintenance cost is higher than the income, and how long can you subsidize? So when lockdown happened and all of the retail and in New York, and you saw vacant building after vacant building after vacant building, and they're like, why don't the rents come down? They have to be $30,000 per month. Are you kidding me? $30,000 per month for all, like a third of is it Broadway, where Times Square is at? Like a third of Times Square went out of business because they couldn't conduct business. Government said you can't, allow for the risk profile of people to visit your business, your place of business. So basically they subsidized and shut them down. And then you say, well, why can't the rents come down now that there's been vacancy for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years? There's a lot of buildings in New York in very commercial, very popular areas that have been vacant for like 10 years. Do you know why? Rents can't come down because the owner has pledged the real estate for collateral. And the collateral valuation of a place of business is based on its income, right? You have a lease and you say, I'm willing to bring down the rents to market value 10%, 20%, whatever decrease in rent, so that it actually generates income and has a tenant, then they have to come up with the difference in collateral. So they might have to come up with $1 million to accept a 10% decrease in rents and actually generate any income at all. So a lot of them just become defunct stores of value, like the Bitcoin narrative, saying, oh, it's still at that value, I'm just looking for a tenant. And the market value is 50,000, 80,000 per month, but the market's only willing to offer 20,000 per month as a retail site. So you go through some parts of New York, you're like, man, what is going on? Like, nothing's been painted. Everything looks destroyed. What happened to this owner? Why aren't they making this a productive part of the city? And it's because they would have to come up with $1 million just to the bank and still obviously not have a tenant that could generate enough income to offset the debt that they take on.
So I think you've pretty much just summed up why I've gone off of property in general. And I mean, to be fair, property's it's been pretty good to me. Done a lot of developments, and that was like the Ferrari of the property world, where you could generate returns pretty quickly. But it's gotten to the stage now where there is just so much red tape inserted in that process, and the risk profile to get in and partake in developments has just put it so far out of whack for the returns that you'd usually get. Like a good development, if you're getting 20% profit on cost, that's what you deem a success. But you're the very last person in the deal to receive those profits. Used to be fine, but now with all the different rules and regulations, everyone's got their fingers in the pie. Every year there's another certificate you need, another compliance thing you have to do, another service that you've got to pay for, and it gets stacked more and more. So the risk profile is just blown way out of the water now.
And land taxes are not getting scaled. Like there's bracket creep in that department. In my state, big time.
Everything, mate.
Big time.
It's everything. Like
so in Victoria, the highest tier of land tax is anything. So if all your properties are worth more than $3 million, then you're on the highest tier. At $3 million, you're on the highest percentage of land tax. Now, in the last year, I've seen from a few different people that their valuations went up upwards of 50%. And a lot of these people they were below 3 million and now they're above 3 million, and going above that has pushed them their land tax. It's doubled their land tax. Like a 40 or 50% increase in the valuation has like double or tripled their land tax. But they're not getting any more income. So, and we're talking about tax scales that have not changed in 15 years. Yet property prices, commercial property prices, and residential, for that matter, in my state, in the metropolitan area at least, have doubled, if not tripled, in that time.
The problem is the rules change. You've got no say in what the rules are, and if you go into an investment thinking you're playing under one set of rules, and over the years it changes. Like we had an example was COVID. COVID kicked in, and you weren't allowed to kick people out of your property at all. So that you've just got no control over the rules of the game that you're playing in. We've seen it with the superannuation funds and everything just recently. So when I look across at crypto, and crypto's not perfect. It's got a lot of shit that goes on with it, and fluctuations and crazy volatile price moves. But at least when you get involved in something, you've got a pretty clear indication of the rules of the game. Obviously, there's different participants and things can change. But I like that assurance where at least if you go into something, you go in eyes wide open and you know, okay, this is what the rules are. And I'm not seeing any investments outside of this that give you that same sort of, it sounds funny to say, security in terms of what you choose to do with your funds. It'd be very hard to be a young kid coming up and not looking at this space.
we're spoiled because we're in Richard Hart ecosystem crypto, so we're spoiled.
Yeah.
We have that perspective. I mean, you know, you've got Bitcoin, you've got Ethereum, you've got HEX, you've got Pulse, but we are spoiled. Like, I don't see the what we're in, the ecosystem we're in is so dynamic. It's moving. Even though we've been waiting for a couple of years, it feels like it's moving. Things are happening. And, you know, one of the best things I think that happened was when ETH 2.0, when they went to staking, when Ethereum went to staking, and then and then Richard and the team decided to go with a fork from Ethereum rather than continuing on with BSC. That showed me that their intentions were to build the best thing that they could. So we're definitely in the right space, and all this stuff that's going on with you know, with real estate in Australia at the moment is just, in my mind, it's sort of pushing my focus more towards crypto.
Well, I just want to pick up on Yoden's just put a comment in the chat. He says, safer to keep your money in HEX and maybe 5% gold for emergency. I think we were having a chat, it was probably a month or so ago, and I said the gold industry is one of the most corrupt industries around.
Oh, yeah.
What did we just see? Did you just see that tweet about them selling fake gold?
So Perth, the Perth Mint it's world renowned for quality and being secure in a safe place. We're in a good jurisdiction, and
world renowned, not anymore.
Not definitely world renowned now. They've been selling.
Is that true though?
Appears to be. So they've been selling painted gold to, I think it was China, and
$9 billion, right? Something like 9 billion. So.
Yeah. So when you understand all the fuckery that goes on in that industry, it's not the safe bet. Well,
that's wild.
Yeah, like there is so much counterparty risk in the gold industry, and all these fucking gold-backed tokens that you see, they're a pile of shit, to be honest. You're just layering more middlemen and more counterparty risk into something that doesn't need it. Fine, peg something to the price of an ounce of gold. That's cool. You're pegging, but you're not, as long as you're not collateralizing it with the gold, that's fine.
But you know that the petro coin is backed by oil, right? The Venezuelan petro. So it's the same sort of thing. Like I was on stage maybe 2018 with Peter Schiff in Puerto Rico. It was a real estate seminar thing, and I got invited from the host to talk on cryptocurrency and why people would be moving to Puerto Rico in 2018. And Peter at the time was talking his same bag, which is gold, 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 gold. And, you know, after the event, we're standing, you know, after the talk or whatever being the stage part, and he's trying to work his iPhone. And, you know, he just heard me talk. I just heard him talk. And he's like, can you help me attach a PDF file to this email or something like that, right? And I helped him with his phone thing. And then he says, you crypto guys, I just don't understand how you do this crypto thing. If you want immediate access to your value, you should use something like, I think it was called Gold Money, but it was basically a credit card. And the credit card would basically say you're spending your gold, because when you spend your gold at the ATM or at the grocery store, you're spending your gold. They move your gold to a different shelf, like it now belongs to someone else. Like and I was like, so they shave off $6 at Starbucks, and they shave off, you know, $50 for my subscription account every time I make a transaction, and they move it to a different shelf. He says, no, of course not. They don't do that. They wait until it's a bigger block, and then it's a whole block or whatever. It's a whole coin or whatever. And I was like, so I have to rely on the service provider. The service provider is going to have a fee charge, basically just like credit card would as far as transaction. I said, does it have clawback? Like, what if I'm not happy with something I bought with my gold? Can I return it? And he says, of course, you can do all the same things you would with a credit card. I was like, well, what's the point? Like, you're just calling it a gold-backed thing, but there's no accountability. And he rails against hypothecation, rehypothecation, and the fact that there's, I think at the time, 220 ounces of silver or paper silver are traded for every ounce of physical silver. And the same kind of leverage happens inside of gold and narratives. So it's so weird when they like something is pegged. It's pegged to the oil that's still in the ground in Venezuela. It's pegged to the dollar. It's pegged to the gold, the spot price of gold as reported by the CME, and the CME is not reporting the trade of physical gold or the redemption of physical gold on a option. They are paying you in dollar. So like there's it's such fuckery. It's such crazy fuckery.
Yep. No, most of it just sits in a big co-allocated vault, and it's just same again. It's just numbers on a ledger that the provider has given you, and you're going to trust them, and there's no different.
I'm friends with also Lynette Zhang. Lynette Zhang does a lot of gold stuff or whatever, gold content for her sponsor. She makes a lot of stuff about it. And she's always saying that she's got a property that's a prepper house. And if there's ever a bug out need, then she'll move from where she lives most of the time to the mountains where her bug out home is set. And she wants to always stay, within a short drive or short distance from where her gold is stored at a third party, so that she can pick it at the front door and say, "Give me my gold." Like, what's the proximity matter? Like, you're gonna walk in and say, "Give it to me now!" Like, it's in the vault. Like, what? No.
If we get to zombie apocalypse and you've got a bunch of gold and it's actually worth anything, you'd be a massive target anyway. So yeah, I don't know that works.
Bullets, food, and fuel.
That's it. You can take what you want then.
Yep. Bullets, fuel, and water.
Yeah. Very good.
What do you guys reckon of? Like, what do you think about farmland? All those, all the most powerful people in the world seem to be stocking up on farmland.
And so it goes back, to me, it goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. You only own what you can either violently defend, physically defend, right? And so if you can gather an army together, if you can be Minutemen, if you can defend the outpost and the frontier, sure, great. Be productive, right? Everything else is leveraged and financed, and the finance in countries that have rule of law means that they can send police or lawyers or army to take it from you. So that hasn't changed. Like you may have in the past have had an advantage because your caveman group figured out the flint axe, and now you've got a better weapon, right, to either take or harvest or defend. But now it's not like that for a lot of Western economies. So like I like the narrative around arable land, something you can be productive on, the home farm, organic, less need for dependency on grocery and things like that. Sure, that's great for like supply shock stuff. Like my family, they had all the stuff that was really needed. The only thing that they needed, I guess, was toilet paper because there was no toilet paper tree. But outside of the toilet paper tree growth, productive people thing, like I don't know, I know that Bill Gates has bought a lot of farmland across the United States, just hundreds of thousands of acres worth, right? And how is he doing that? Do you think he is selling his Microsoft stock so that he can buy land in a prepper zombie thing? No, it's a finance deal, and it's leverage, and it's collateral maybe with his stock, right? But it's really just basically pulling of strings to get as close to the source of fiat production as possible. So his interest rate is ridiculously low. Even like people like Mark Zuckerberg, he financed his house, his personal house. At least it's not very lavish. It's only like a $6 million house, and at least the last one I heard about. And he occupies in Palo Alto. but it's a 1% 30-year fixed mortgage, 1%, right? So like, of course, that's a great deal. Why would you take your capital that is suffering from inflation if it's just held liquid? You probably would put it in something that has higher performance. And if you can occupy real estate for 1% APR fixed, why wouldn't you, right? Like there's certain things you're going to do because you're in a financialized system. There's two economies. I think there's two economies in Australia as well, that there's a lot of derivative and finance economy. And then there's the real world. And the real world is, what do you got to pay to keep people from evicting you or violently harming you? Like, who are you paying tithe to? You're paying tithe, because you want EMT services when someone has a heart attack. You're paying tithe because someone breaks in your house. Hopefully, like there's repercussion for harm against your property rights. So like, it's the price we pay to be part of the system. And truthfully, being off grid and prepper, and I'm not going to be beholden to corporate entity. I don't think that's real either. So like, it's a mix where you live.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we've been going for about 3 hours now, so I think we might wind it up. Let's go around and
I've got my sign off prepared.
Yes,
so
last words.
One, I wanted to shout out T-Bird. He made a hilarious reply. The bankless guys, and this is actually a point in itself. There was a bankless comment that says, we dunk on HEX a lot, but I think we can safely say that it is one of the tokens ever made. But I think that's meant to be one of the best tokens ever made, like as in, otherwise the sentence structurally doesn't make sense. And T-Bird replied saying, don't worry, we dunk on you just as hard. And it's a clip from this show of you, 43, playing the video of him crying and us all laughing at it. So I thought that was quite hilarious.
He's not on Twitter.
Yeah.
This is on Twitter. I can send you.
Do you honestly think it was a shame he cocked up his tweet, or do you think that was purposefully done that way?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure because I think if you were going to say, we can safely say that it's one of the tokens ever made, you would put it is one of the. We can safely say that it is one of the tokens made. Like, I don't think you would say ever made if you were trying to. Like, if you were trying to do a flat joke where it just ends flat, like we can safely say it is a token that was made, which is how I would word that if you were trying to do it as a joke. There are replies, people replying, trying to get clarity, but someone said super brave post.
I saw that.
So yeah,
you know, this is a lot of the quote unquote trying to be influential people. They're trying to be influential. Like I gave props today to Ivan on Tech, and I gave props to, and I tagged with the hedging position that BitBoy seems to have all the time. It's like so disingenuous. And then this other, like, I don't know, some troll account. They're all BTC accounts, and it seems like they really are hungry for engagement, because if you scroll through their last 10 or 15 things before a HEX post, it's crickets. Like it's hardly anything. And they can tag it's Bitcoin, or they can tag it's anything else, but nobody seems to care. Like nobody seems to care.
It's weird though. Like all of a sudden, there's just been this deluge of people coming out of the woodwork again, and it's like we're back in fucking 2019. We're revisiting all the same shit again. I've been through this like year after year. Nothing's changed. We're still here. I actually I struggle with the bankless guys. They got some really good content. I agree with a lot of their sentiment and what they're trying to do in the space. But then there's like this cognitive dissonance where they're still promoting, like, admittedly it's Kraken this time, which is not a bad exchange, but they've still got their hand in the frigging cookie jar promoting that shit. I retweeted you, Jaxo. They're really pumping up Coinbase's L2 base, and that could end up to be the biggest shit show ever, and could be like a massive KYC chain where you've got to authenticate to do anything on the chain.
So, I'm sure it almost certainly will be.
Yeah. So I just
Jack said, did you want to? is that your? Do you want to?
Oh, sorry.
I'm
I
not
had
going
one
to
other
rave
thing.
on. Yeah.
I had just one other thing was we joked around about how you could bridge to a testnet and it would give everything on that testnet value, right? Like we several of us identified that idea as a concept.
Yeah.
Now they've actually done it. So, and like, this is not just like the Kosama example where it was like intended to be a testnet and then they did it as a net with value. This was actually, they bridged to an ETH testnet and gave Gorelli ETH value. And now there's like mixed opinions within the ETH community of whether that's acceptable or not. And it's like, well, if it can be done, it kind of will be done. That's Murphy's law, isn't it?
There's no, that's the stupidity of it. Like, you've got a test net, functions exactly the same as mainnet. There's no difference. Like, it's all just the same shit running. And like I say, as soon as you bridge in some little bit of value.
Just some people believe it has value. And if some people believe it has value, then it has value to them.
Well, isn't it funny that a network with assets on it that can trade back and forth for perceived ratcheting up, like I've got more of this asset that all has zero value, that has what as an overhead again? Like, what is the overhead? The overhead is server administration. The overhead is electricity and labor to support Gorley as a testnet, right? And so it's just interesting when they say, oh no, you gotta have the network. They gotta be paid as miners. They gotta be paid as validators. Like, it's just so gray about like what we assign value to. We assign value to a JPEG, to a music that is ephemeral at a concert. Like, we're just sitting and listening to it one time, right? So the experience, we assign value to all sorts of things that we pay for. And then the bitching from the Ethereum people is, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Like, it's like, what?
Anyway. We live in a crazy world.
Jexa, any last words?
No, I haven't got anything to say, mate.
Nothing?
I only was going to pop in for 15 minutes, so it was good to hang around.
Gary, we do a thing where we go around and ask everyone if they have any last words they want to say.
I'm on Funding Gym as far as Twitter. Always verify, no matter who it is you think that you're speaking with, even if they send you something as a confirmation, please do not share any kind of like personal data. You know, I'm getting on my Instagram and Twitter constantly people posting me and saying that there's fakes. So just be very, very careful about those things. You can actually send a short video clip through Twitter. So learn how to do that. And that short video clip can be you saying, hey, this is really me. Like, I'm having to do that even with a lot of the OGs too, to make sure that it's not some weird situation. But caution, especially when AI and deepfakes are becoming more easy off the shelf now. And then, like, I always go back and forth about, should I engage or shouldn't I engage or push back on random trolls on the internet about HEX. The only ones I'm kind of engaging are in the back and forth that have happened are like BitBoy and Simon Dixon. You know, we back and forth every so often. But otherwise, I'm trying to cut that. And I definitely want us to have, as best we can, more polish. So I don't say, you know, gosh, you're sucking middleman D and that sure tastes salty and all that kind of crap. Because all it does is, it might be funny to us and our clique that, you know, boy, you gotcha, you know, that kind of thing. It feels so good. You're like so vindicated because now you got that guy. But now he's going to block you. 2, you're never going to reach his audience again. You don't have to simp to these guys at all. Don't have to simp to them in their position. But I just choose, and I like people that are a little bit more logical on how they get the message through that is harder for them to block. Because sooner or later to get revealed that they just blocked something that made absolute sense, like HEX or PulseChain or whatever narratives. And then I really am trying to support more, publicly with, I dox myself. You guys know that I dox myself on Gary Wood's win. I'm going to start a little bit of more support of other consistent streamers, such as you guys, in that there's 3 stakes that I made. I took $50,000 and I market bought August 5th of 2022.
You mean Smurfs?
Yeah, smurfing and hexing and all the things that we do. publishing. But what I did was back in 2000 and 8 months ago in August, or whatever the number is, in August, I market bought with 50,000 USDC. I market bought 30,000 in HEX, and I staked 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year. And then there's a fourth stake, which was when Hexologist said he was going to do 555 days of streaming. That stake, that was $1,000 stake, is now worth $2,014 last time I checked, which was yesterday. So 2014 is the value of his stake. It comes out on the 5555 day that he would have finished his stream. And I want to do a few of those for other like consistent streamers, such as you guys, and label it and say, this is the, if your group has a different thing than Discourse Syndicate, then all the Australians just kind of lump you all together. But I want to do something like that where people can reference. It's helped me onboard some very successful people, very real estate people, because they have a reference that they can look at as a ROI. And so I want to do that a little bit more over the coming year for people like you, Crypto 7, things like that. That's what I'm going to start doing over the next week or two. Anyway, great to join in. I caught the show. I happened to wake up early. Someone tweeted me, or someone called me, and I was like, oh, I'm getting up so early. And then you guys were on, so glad to join in.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. Always welcome. It'd been a while since you'd been on the show. Probably a year or so. The whole bear market, man. The whole bear market. Didn't show
I've been
your
on.
face for the whole bear market.
Are we on the top or are we on the bottom? Why you guys say down under? The planet is a planet. Like, what's perspective up and down? Anyway, good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to have you on, mate. I'll just say I'm going to go and get my calculator and do some maths, and then I'll post it on the internet and not get taxed for it. And I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. Thanks for everyone in the chat. We'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.